Everybody, it's me, John Ward, and Donald Wills. How are
What's
you doing,
up?
Donald? What's
Doing good.
up? And welcome back to another film discussion where we are going to be talking about the Thing franchise. I guess it's a franchise or the Thing films.
I don't
And
know if you would consider it a franchise. I mean,
yeah, I
it's
don't think
only
it's
it's like a 50s movie, an 80s movie, and a prequel movie.
prequel,
Uh,
reboot
Reboot,
type thing.
sequel ish,
Yeah,
maybe remake. I don't know what you call it.
where maybe they could go to a Russian camp this time, which is where I guess I missed that on my other viewings of the remake prequel that she was going to a Russian camp. So, um,
Uh, well, Swedish. Oh, not Swedish. Um, Norwegian.
no, the camp that she's in is Norwegian, but at the end, the guy goes, "You should go." There's a Russian camp,
Oh, okay.
which is why she doesn't end up at the camp in Carpenter's. The thing, I guess, is he tells her, "Don't go to
Gotcha.
the
Okay.
American, go to the Russian camp." So now we could do a film that takes place at the same time as John Carpenter's The Thing, but at the Russian camp. Because now she's maybe
Hey,
she's now infected. So,
John
did
Carpenter, if you're listening, make this happen.
yeah, there you go. Just give us some credit. That'd be nice. Did you finish the book or audiobook?
I sure did.
So did I. And that's what I wanted to start with. That's why at the very beginning of this, before we recorded, I didn't want to ask you questions. I wanted to be, you know, surprised either way if you ready
Yeah.
to do it. So what? So let's start with the book. Who goes there? And which is and I should know these things, which is written by
John
John
W. Campbell
W.
Jr.
Campbell Jr. Yes, and it
I don't
was
know how
back
well you
in
can see this, but this is my Kindle.
let's see. Oh, I can see that really well, actually. Okay, yeah, that looks perfect, actually.
Um, there is a physical copy, but it is with apparently there were three um chapters that they found somehow, some way, I don't know how, and I guess they were like prequels, a prequel story. So basically, they just re-released this with those three chapters put at the beginning, and then they just re-released it as a book called Frozen Hell.
Yeah, Frozen Hell. I think you can also get it as a comic. It was a manuscript that they found a few years ago, maybe
Mm-hmm.
within like the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's a full length book instead of like a novella, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what they want to redo. So, but it's been in development hell for a while. But they said that they wanted to remake the thing, but call it Frozen Hell, and it'd be from this book because it would
Yeah.
be different. So the novel was written in, or at least publication date was 1938, and yeah, it was finally published. Frozen Hell 2019.
Yes.
So it's the novel, and I guess probably the movies too, and I brought this up to you about maybe doing this for our next film discussion, has been compared to Invasion of the Body Snatchers, because it's all about basically communism
Yeah.
and the subtext of communism, and that's the thing of conforming. And the same
Mm-hmm.
thing with Invasion of the Body Snatchers, about the pod people and being just one large group of people with no emotions and no
Yeah.
war and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. And which was the same um with Jonathan Moody and Paul. Today we did a video on Night of Living Dead, and we talked about that. And that's what Richard Matheson's novel was also about, was about communism and conforming. So that was a very big thing
I
back
Am
in the
Legend,
day.
right? Isn't
Yeah,
that
I
what?
Am Legend. So so I think if you're up for it, of doing Invasion of the Body Snatchers, there's 4 films, 1 book. Might be able to find the book. I'm pretty sure it would be available as just like a PDF or an audiobook. I'll
Yeah.
probably check YouTube.
Uh,
But what's interesting with
sure.
that is there's a book before, and it's called the Body Snatchers. So it's not Invasion of the Body Snatchers, it's just the Body Snatchers. But there's a book by Robert Hemlin, I think is how you say his last name, called The Puppet Masters.
Okay.
And that was written before, but it deals with the
Okay.
same thing. They made a movie out of it with Donald Sutherland,
Okay.
but it's very much like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So I think that these would be good companion pieces. So,
Okay.
but after watching all three films, what did you think of the book?
Well, I mean, I can tell that all three movies, well, maybe not the third one as much, the prequel, but it definitely Carpenter's and the original Thing from Another World definitely took things from the book, but obviously, the 1951 film was kind of limited to what they could do, so they
Sure.
just basically just made it a monster feature at that point. So, but they did take a lot of things from the book. I think Carpenter's The Thing is more faithful when it comes to the like the blood testing and
Yeah, that's
the
definitely in the book. Yeah.
the hysteria of who's infected, who's not. Who do you trust? Yeah, that definitely fit in. The 1951 didn't really go into that one that too much, but I thought all three films did a great job with what they had to work with.
Yeah, I would say that even the prequel worked off the book because they talk about that the thing could run. So because I guess so they do talk about there's a hallway where the thing is running. And
Mm-hmm.
in Carpenter's film, it never runs, but in the prequel, it does run. Like
Yeah.
it chases after people, where
Mm-hmm.
the other one it doesn't. And what else? There was something else with the prequel that I thought, oh, this matches the book. Um, I'll think of it. But the book has a lot of exposition.
Yes.
It's a lot of, and there's also a lot of repeating. Um, it starts off with just getting to know like the Antarctic. They talk a lot about just moving 10 feet and then you
Mm-hmm.
could be frozen. So we get into
Yes.
that, and then we get into them finding the saucer. Oh, they go into the saucer
Yeah.
in the short story. And in the
Mm-hmm.
prequel, they go into the saucer, which they don't do in Carpenter's The Thing.
No.
And they
To be quite
discuss.
honest with you, maybe I should hold on. Keep going. I'll bring that up when we actually get to John Carpenter's The Thing.
Okay. And then they do destroy the ship,
Mm-hmm.
and and then they find the thing and they describe what the thing looks like, which in the prequel there is one, I think it's the prequel, one shot of what it looks like in the book is that it's like a different color and it's got the
The
eyes.
worms like hair kind of
Yeah,
deal,
it's a
and
quick
then the
shot.
three. Did it have the three red eyes though?
I just spotted that it had the pieces coming off of it.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, that looks like it's from the book. Because
Yeah.
so there are definitely similarities. It is more of a kind of like a whodunit,
Mm-hmm.
because there is a lot of who's the thing, who's not the thing. They
Yeah.
seem to be a little more casual. Like while the thing is running around, they play cards. They talk about playing cards for one moment. Um,
In the book?
yeah,
Yeah. I'm terrible when it comes to like remembering every little detail when it comes to a book. So
yeah, it's very brief. They just talk about like they're waiting on something, and then but he talks about like some of them are playing cards. The some of the names are the same to Carpenter's movie, but definitely not the Howard Hawks thing from
Yeah,
the early
I've
80s.
noticed that they changed a lot of names around from like I because in it doesn't say that it's based on the book. Doesn't say on the back, so I don't know if the Howard what is it Howard Hawk did Howard Hawk actually put in is it was based on
I
the
believe
novel.
it. I believe it does say it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and it's interesting that the because they do the blood test. Well, they kill the alien in the book. They kill the thing halfway through. So they
Yeah.
use the idea from the thing from another world where they electrocute it.
Yeah.
And it's just dead. It's gone. It's just ash.
Basically
And
evaporated into nothing.
yeah, and then from there on out, it's a who is it?
Yeah.
Type of movie. So there is no thing anymore. What we got
Yeah.
from the ship.
It's
And
basically who was taken over by the thing the thing at that point.
yeah, and one of the doctors in the book says that they think that they're seeing it at its truest form. And I don't believe that's, I mean, obviously it's in the book, but from what I've read over the years about it, like speculation and stuff, is we would never know what its true form is because it's going to so many planets,
Yeah.
so many galaxies and solar systems
It
and picking
basically
up stuff.
manipulated other life forms from other planets. So it might be, I don't know. Let's just say it was one of the creatures from Mars that it imitated or something. You know what I mean? So it could be one of the creatures from Mars that it's imitating it. We may not know, and that's what I think makes the thing great is because there's a mystery behind it. They're not trying to explain every little thing about it, and that's what I like about it. It
Well,
makes it more creepy.
yeah, it's because they definitely give in the book. There's a lot of like them hypothesizing. If I think I'm saying that correctly, that about it. Like, how would you know these things? That I
Yeah,
mean, you're really guessing of what it is, and a lot of the guesses, I guess, are right. Oh, and the big thing in the book is that it can read minds.
yeah.
It's
Which
telepathic.
I don't know if they even touched on that in the movies or not.
No,
No,
not at
okay.
all. None of them. Because I think that would
Huh?
be it might be too easy in a film. So
I
because then
don't
it
know.
would just always know what's happening. But he does our one of our main characters does talk to it through its mind. Because near the end of
Yeah,
the book, he's like, oh, you already know what I'm thinking. You could read my mind, so you know what we're going to be doing.
yeah,
And a couple of the guys do become the thing,
yeah.
kind of more, I think, in the Carpenter fashion,
Yeah.
like with
It's
the guy.
more. Yeah, it's more like the tentacle mutating kind of deal than it did in the 1950s film. The 1950s
Yeah,
film it wasn't even like they didn't even go into like it can they did say it can like evolve, but that's basically as far as it ever went. It's just basically was some big green monster that they just go through the whole movie.
it's a carrot monster. That's what they said. It's a carrot. It's a vegetable. It's a carrot. The guy even said it's a carrot monster. Uh,
It's a big giant super carrot.
yeah. And then Blair's in it, and they do the whole thing with they call it a house, but in Carpenter's thing they call it a shack. But they stick Blair up in the shack,
Yeah,
and it's not a bad. I still think the story overall holds up.
yeah,
To where you can, and it's short enough to where you can kind of take it in a few different directions.
yeah.
Um,
I will say one thing about the book from, and I think this is just a because of its time. I mean, back then, a lot of '30s novels really had a lot of. It was a lot. This is just my opinion. Don't get mad at me, people. It was very wordy. I was very like a lot of times you're like, oh, they refer. Are they actually talking about what's going on? Are they trying to be metaphorical about it? You know what I mean? So there was a lot of stuff that's just like, okay, well, what? It kind of confused me a little bit, if you know what I'm saying.
There's definitely 19 like 30s words that are
Yeah.
in there.
Hmm.
And I think because I mean this is 1934 that it was published, we really didn't have any real knowledge of space yet,
Yeah.
from what I understand. I mean, telescopes and things like that.
Hmm.
But so you have to, I guess, do
Just kind of
some
almost like H.P.
research.
Lovecraft almost. I mean, I think that's basically the only real horror related stuff that we ever had back then was from H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, and I know Carpenter's The Thing is considered to be cosmic horror,
Yes.
and that's the thing, is that you can't fully explain it, especially if you don't know it.
Yeah.
Which is why I thought the book was a little wordy in
Hmm.
it, and it's like there was a lot of explanation
Yeah.
going on of what it is, and I get that they have to set up the world
Hmm.
around it, but there seemed to be more just talking between the guys that wasn't necessarily scientific, but then they
Yeah.
did try to make it, when we're talking to the scientists, um, I guess, as scientific as they could.
Yeah. I mean, I like I said before, the wordiness really got to me because, especially when it's a lot of stuff like you said, when they're talking between the guys, and then they start saying it kind of like breeze over a little bit of like when this person turned into a monster, and they kind of just like within like a couple sentences they say it, and it's like, wait, what just happened? And you kind of gotta like, go back and reread it, and like still sometimes it didn't make any sense. So I'm gonna have to reread this book a couple times to like get, and it's only like what 85 pages I think it was, so it's not very long. So you probably read it in a day. It took me a day and a half, well, roughly about a day and a half to read.
Yeah, I've had an old audio recording of it for a while. I forgot that I had it. I'm like, oh shit, I do have it. And so when I was at work, I had the pleasure of polishing the floors by hand. So, and each hallway took me an hour. So I figured, all right, this thing, my recording is 2 hours and 35 minutes. So I could probably get this done in 2 days. And that's, if I do one hallway today, one hallway tomorrow, and then touch ups, that would be the remaining amount. So I was able to kind of pay attention to it while I was
Mm-hmm.
doing the floors, because I was just by myself in a hallway. And I did every once in a while kind of run it back just a second.
Yeah.
Some of it was a little confusing just because I know the names from the movie, like to the character that they're attached to.
Mm-hmm.
And like, McCready he's like, he's not a meteorologist, is he? I think he's a meteorologist in the book, but in the film, he's he's the helicopter pilot.
Yeah.
So every once in a while, I'd get stuff confused because the names didn't attach to the characters that I'm used to,
Yeah.
and I'd have to go back.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
was
I tried to listen to it at work, but the version I had, I found it on YouTube, and it the biggest problem with, and I was even when I was reading along with it, I was having trouble with it. A lot of times it would go like it would it would be the volume would be real high, and then all of a sudden it would go down to almost like a whisper, and I was like, oh, what are they saying? And that's why I couldn't listen to it, so I had to follow along with it on my Kindle.
yeah, mine has noises. because I
Yeah,
guess you're
that's the
recording,
same
you
one
know,
in
you're
my.
downloading it for free. So every once in a while you would hear a noise
Hmm.
come up, and then it would go away. But I guess it's for, I had that before when I using LimeWire a decade ago. You know, you would download some new song, and in it would have all these weird noises, so
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to keep it. Um,
Oh, LimeWire.
oh,
That's a
LimeWire.
blast from the past.
And but I did listen to, and I think it was 3 times the last 10 minutes, because we do end with the two guys, and there's no women in this.
No.
So unlike the Thing from Another World and the prequel that have women, this is more like the Carpenter one where there's no women at all. So there were two guys left. They're seeing um they go up to the house, as they call it,
Yeah.
and they see Blair, or no, it's not Blair, it's the creature.
Yeah.
They don't say Blair, they say that the creature
They
is,
call out Blair, and then they realize as soon as they see what it's doing that it's basically building. Is it building a ship
no,
inside?
it's a jetpack.
Okay, so it's not. It's just. I thought I was thinking that it was building. I've just finished this right after watching the last movie, so I was picturing it building a ship instead of a jetpack.
Yeah, they
So
turn it on.
my bad.
It's, yeah, it's sitting on the bed, and they turn it on, and it just kind of goes like, ooh, and then goes down,
Okay,
because I
yeah,
guess it's not finished yet. And so the thing was going to take it, and let them freeze and take it to, they mentioned America, because because of when this thing was written, it's got to be America,
yeah,
and that it's going to infect everybody in America. And but what they do see is that they do see a bird fly, and they shoot at the bird a couple times, and its feathers get knocked around, and then it goes in the opposite direction. But
yeah. That part got very. I was like, why are we shooting at this bird? What's
because
going
if
on
the
here?
if the bird lands, it could infect the bird, and then the bird,
Gotcha. Okay.
because different from the movies is they say that the bird could infect another bird, could infect another bird, could infect another
Okay.
bird, and then you just have an endless amount of birds. And they go through a few different things. They mention a few different, you know, this I'll make up. I don't remember exactly what it was, but like a dolphin.
Yeah.
One dolphin would affect another dolphin, would affect another
Yeah.
dolphin,
And then
and
eventually it'll eventually in like a couple hours or so basically infect every dolphin on the earth.
yeah, and so
So
they were shooting at the bird, maybe not to kill it, but to scare it away. But
okay.
then one of them at the very end goes something like, how do we know the bird isn't infected? And one of the guys goes, no, I wouldn't worry about it. I don't I don't think so, don't worry about it. But that's kind of lingering there,
Mhm.
that maybe the bird was infected, which is kind of our cliffhanger ending, that we don't know.
Sure. So you never know. I mean, I I enjoyed the book from what I, even if some of it was basically kind of went over my head. I mean, I'll be the first to admit some of the stuff is kind of like, okay, what are we going on about here? A lot of it was like, okay, yeah, it was like pretty basic going through, but then there was a lot of times when they started getting into like especially a lot of the conversations they started talking about where they were trying to be scientific about it, and it was like, wait, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about the thing? Or are we talking about something else? You know what I'm saying?
I think they were getting a lot into detail of what if this thing gets out,
Yeah,
and but they were doing it in such a way of not saying it like a regular person would get it. They're saying it more like
they're
a
saying it in like the
scientist.
1930s lingo at that point, which is not what
Yeah,
we're used to. I mean, we
Right.
we talk like, hey man, what's going on? This we don't get this thing now, it's gonna go infect the world and we're screwed. And they're like, well, if we do not sustain this thing, we might have an issue on our hands. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is very, very talky, and I think that they do repeat themselves because
Yes.
I guess it's to kind of bring it home
Mhm.
of what the point is.
Yeah.
So it's I actually really want to read Frozen Hell. There is it's to see what the difference is, and there is a version of Who Goes There with he's novelist. If it's on here, I don't shoot. Publication history. He's a famous science fiction author, and there's the story for Who Goes There, and then he wrote the script in the 70s. I can't find it. It's like F Nolan something. I know the name, it's in my head, but I can't. But he's a famous author, and he wrote the screenplay for it. um and that's attached to the story, and I want to get that version because I want to read his script, because he said that it is the script that Carpenter was using, but they rewrote it. And he said
Okay.
that he likes his script better because it's more of a like a well, literally like a Who Goes There type of thing instead of like a
Mhm.
blood fest, like a creature fest. So I'd be curious in that. So it's one thing that I definitely found interesting about this is how you would take this and adapt it into the thing from another world. Do you want to get into
Yeah.
that?
Sure.
Okay. What did you watch? Why don't we show people what how we watched it?
Okay. Well, I bought this off of eBay as soon as you said we agreed to do this in our last one. I went ahead and quickly grabbed the 3-pack DVD with all
Nice.
3 movies. Um, Little pet peeve of mine. I hate when they do it out of order. I wish they
Yeah,
would just put 1951. If they just swap these two, I'd be happy. But that's just me.
maybe because the things look similar, so they divided it by having something more colorful and different in the
It's
middle.
probably what it is, but I don't know. Me, I'm the type person I like to see. Okay, put it in chronological order. Like put the one that came out first, then put the second one, then put the third one. They
Yeah,
do
no,
they
that
do
that
this
makes sense.
with people like directors and stuff, where they'll have like all their movies like out of order. It's like, don't do
are
that. It just makes me mad. But
are they individual, or are they stuck
yes,
on like, oh good,
individual discs.
sweet,
There you go.
perfect. That's how they should be. So
Yes. I hate when they shove everything all on one disc. It's
I
terrible.
thought of that when you showed me that. I thought of getting it, but then I already owned the two Thing movies on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I just ordered. So I just ordered the thing from Another World by itself.
Okay.
As
I
a
was gonna get them individually because I already have the thing on Blu-ray here, but this is the bad version I've heard. It's not the good version. It's not the Scream Factory version. It's the who put this out? Universal maybe?
I think it's just Universal.
Yeah. Well, Shout Factory did one as well, which I've heard a lot of people say is
That's the
the
one I
best
have.
version.
Yeah.
So, but this is the one that came out before Shout Factory put it out, and I've heard the transfer is really bad on it. So I haven't watched this one, but I have it because I think I only paid like $2 for it.
Oh, okay. Well, what about the
So,
one in the collection? Is that Shout or Scream?
probably not. Um, it doesn't say. but I think this is probably the DVD that came out
Oh, they're
beforehand.
DVDs. Okay, got it.
Yeah, they're DVDs. Yeah.
Okay, that's
So
fine.
this one probably because from what I want to when this I remember hearing when this came out like back in like 2012 or whatever. This one was the one everyone's like, dude, just don't even bother watching this. Just keep your DVD copies because that's I guess that's how bad this transfer is. I haven't popped it in and watched it yet, but I've
Oh wow.
heard a lot of people say this version is really bad.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
this for DVD looked fine.
Yeah.
And but it has absolutely no special features. It would have been nice to have maybe like audio commentary by a historian.
Mhm.
There's not even a trailer. I mean, there's nothing. And I hate this.
Uh,
Because all it does is you just take your finger and poke it right fucking through.
yeah.
I hate that. I know they're trying to be, environmentally cautious type of thing, less plastic, but still.
I mean, if we're gonna get if we're gonna go that far, just take the take the artwork, print it onto a piece of cardboard, and just put like a little bit of plastic in there, and just give us like a disc thing, and that's it. That'll cut your plastic down. But
Yeah.
then the cardboard will get damaged. So can't please
Yeah.
everybody.
And the director of this version of the thing had actually done stuff before. Um he did so the thing from Another World came out in 1951,
Yes.
and it's Christian Nyby.
That's the director.
And yeah, and he did, oh, looks like maybe this was his first film, but he did
Also, Howard Hawks is the producer. See, that's what gets me confused. 'Cause sometimes when I see like a name above it, I usually think, okay, that's the director, right? Nah, I messed up there.
the rumor
My
is he
bad.
directed it. It's pretty well known that Howard Hawks directed it. It looks like a Howard Hawks movie. It sounds like a Howard Hawks movie. It's a Howard Hawks movie. He did everything. I mean, it's
He
and plus
just
John. I mean, John Carpenter's favorite director was Howard Hawks,
okay.
so we all know. And this was playing during Halloween, the first Halloween movie. So it's I think it's his favorite film.
Okay.
But the director of this also did Lights, Diamond, Jewelry, Hell on Devil's Island, Young Fury, Operation CIA, uh, Elfco, Baka, Six Gun Law, and First to Fight. I thought he had done something else. Oh, wait. This is what I'm saying. As an editor, he had edited 17 films from 43 to 52, including The Big Sleep, Red River. He also did TV shows like Gunsmoke and Wagon Train, but he's
Okay.
best known as the director of Thing from Another World. That's what I was looking at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, but it is a Howard Hawks movie. I mean, it is.
I guess he just wanted to put him in the director's seat, but he gets all the credit,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
though
I'm not. And you got James Arness as the Thing. Um, so, what did you think about what the Thing looked like?
I didn't have a I really didn't have a problem with it. I mean, for the limitations that they had, I can understand they couldn't do tentacle monsters and all that. So, I mean, they had to work with what they had. So, they had to just change the scripts around and make it a monster movie at that point.
So, do you think maybe this shouldn't have been made? If you can't do the story and it's so far removed, maybe that's why it's called The Thing from Another World.
I mean, it's an
That is,
adaptation. It's an adaptation. I mean, it's pretty much it's a version of the story.
yeah, because even though it's got a couple things like they were going to do the blood test, but then somebody got in there and which is maybe it was the Thing. I don't know. I think it was one of the scientists. but somebody destroyed all the blood. Um, so they couldn't do the test. No, no, no. Wait, am I getting something
That's the
confused?
thing. That's
There's
John Carpenter's
there
the
was
thing.
something destroyed in this. What was destroyed in the thing from another world? Was there anything? Am I getting confused? Because we
They
have.
shut the heat off. He shut the heat off.
Oh, no, 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 no. They burned down the lab. That's what I'm thinking. Because the regular scientist, the known guy, is he took the little pieces from the thing, like the from like the samples or whatever,
Seeds.
the seeds, yeah, and then he
Mhm.
planted those and they started to grow, and that's when the army guys are like, oh fuck no, if this stuff gets out, it's going to take over the world.
Yeah,
That's
he's
what
like
I'm
burn
thinking
it.
of.
Yeah,
That's what that was destroyed. um
yeah,
I did like the army on one side and the scientist on the other.
yeah.
I thought that the army acted like the army and that the scientists acted like the scientists. So what did you think?
I mean the lead scientist guy just wanted to punch in the face every time he's like, we can't destroy it. This is a scientific discovery. Is it worth it if we're all dead? Is it really worth it if
Yeah,
we're all dead? I mean,
yeah. It might be in the book or it's in the film, the first film, where the scientist says that if people die, it doesn't matter because of it being such a scientific.
yeah. Who's
It's like people can be sacrificed. Not in those words exactly, but it was like, you know, to preserve it, it's okay. People can die.
I think that was in the thing from another world. I, in the prequel, I think the guy said something similar to that nature as well.
Yeah.
The lead scientist of that one.
The I like how the lead scientist in the original movie is almost walking around like he's wearing pajamas. Like he just doesn't have regular clothes. Like his pants are all kind of fancy. They have like designs on them. Like he's, just like he's from another world. Like he doesn't dress normally. He's just
I
a
mean, dude,
weird.
I was I was kind of and the whole time he's walking around, I kept thinking like, man, why do you look like you're freaking Hitler?
Uh,
Why are you walking around like you're Hitler or something? He's just kind of gave. He had that like dictator look, like, I'm something special. I'm like, get
well,
out
and
of
that's
here.
that's why I think that they had him dressed kind of odd for that time period, is because he is such a genius. He's like a lunatic
Yeah.
type genius guy, and he seems to be one of these scientists that, if he was in charge, like if we didn't have a president, if we had like a scientist in charge, that
Mhm.
he would be perfectly okay with conducting experiments on people.
Yeah.
He'd be like, um as I'm sure, he might say something bad about Hitler, but at the same time, he probably admires their experiments.
Mm. I mean, I don't know, but I thought the first movie was good for what they had to work with. I mean, at least they tried to stick loyal to it, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, they tried to be as loyal as they possibly could. I mean, they did try to, they did mention in the film that it can manipulate different like a different species, but it also kind of went. But it's like we stopped it before it could copy the wolf or the dog at that point.
In the thing from another world.
Yeah, because remember when they I think they cut when the wolf had his arm when it lost its arm and they were doing experiments on it. I think they said that there was like a wolf leg or something, and they said it wasn't able to imitate it right away because wasn't able to learn or something. I don't know, something along them lines.
I don't remember that. I remember the arm and it being able to replace its arm,
Mhm.
but
They had a piece of a dog on the table as well. and I think they were saying it was trying to. I think they were saying it was trying to drink its blood so it can um, imitate it or something. Something
Well,
along them lines.
it was definitely doing something with the dogs. Yeah, because
Yeah.
the dogs attacked it. It killed a couple of the dogs, and then like in the story, in the book, they use dog blood to
Yeah.
see what would happen with the thing's blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it kills the dog. It drains the blood out of the dog. As they say that the dog now looks smaller, and that's when it
Mhm.
was hidden in the lab in that closet thing.
Yeah, that little like briefcase, not briefcase, but like a storage locker kind of deal.
Yeah, and so do you think that the thing was just mad, like you're trying to kill me, so I'm like pissed off, or do so I'm going to try to kill you? You stick your dogs on me, you catch me on fire.
I mean, the dude tried to shoot him. The first thing the time he saw him, he tried to shoot him. So
Yeah, I
maybe he
mean,
was just like, "Hey, I come in peace.
yeah, I mean,
I just wanted
maybe
to
we
be
shouldn't.
friends, and you're shooting at me, and now your dogs are after me, and now you're trying to set me on fire. I just wanted to hug."
Yeah, yeah, just a hug, and maybe on his planet he's very attractive. Like maybe this is like the Brad Pitt or George Clooney on his planet, and he sees all these people, and he's like, "Oh my god, you guys are horrible. You're hideous looking, and you're trying to hurt me." So yeah, so he comes in, and all he does is get attacked.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what happens when you're a super carrot.
They do say he's a vegetable. Yeah, they do say that. They do say that he's a vegetable.
How's the
The
only part
guy
of the movie I really couldn't take serious.
they mention a vegetable, and they think the guy like jokingly says, "So what? He's like a giant carrot or something like that."
And the science is like, that's precisely what he is. He's a
That's
carrot.
it. Yeah, pretty
And
much.
I will say, through the whole movie, one thing that got annoying. Holy cat! Who says that?
Holy cat.
Nobody. Remember the guy with that was the news reporter.
Oh
Every
yeah.
5 minutes he kept saying "Holy cat."
Ah,
It's like, dude, it's getting kind of annoying.
he is the worst reporter I have ever seen. He keeps getting pissed off because the army keeps telling him, "No, you cannot like call your people." Dude, then write the story. Why are you getting
Write the
mad and
story on
not
your
doing things?
notepad while it's going on, and then when
You
they finally give you permission, oh, I got it right here.
I got it right here. And then he couldn't get one photo. There were many times that the thing was standing right there. Like like right in a pose. Take my picture. And the guy, he couldn't even take a picture. He's like, "Oh no, I fell backwards and I got a picture of my foot." He's like the worst journalist. But like, uh
I mean, I guess it makes for good comedy at that point.
yeah. And what did you think of the relationship, like the guy girl relationship in it? Did you care? I think that's when I went up and got something to drink, then went to the bathroom and came back.
I mean, I just found it kind of weird that he was tied up while she was trying to force him to get drunk. I was like,
There's
what is this? Is this like some freaky BDSM 50s BDSM kind of deal? I
so
don't
I
know.
I don't know if this is when they had ratings yet, because it says not rated, but kids would. Oh, nice. They show the how the monster gets destroyed. Thanks. Spoilers.
Spoilers!
The fuck.
Spoilers!
People who design these things that do this shit should get fired. That's how they
Fucking
kill the
spoilers,
monster.
man!
Uh and yeah, there was a lot of adult content for
Mm-hmm.
1938. Not 1938,
1951.
1951.
51, I think.
Okay, so for 1951, there's a lot of sex talk in this.
1951.
Yeah, and yeah, I actually went back and watched that scene with him tied to the chair because I'm thinking like, wait, wouldn't kids watch this? And he's tied up, and she's got like the booze. I thought that was weird. Yeah, that was strange.
I don't know. It is what it is, I guess.
And one of the scientists is Paul Frees, who an ex-girlfriend of mine is not related to, but knows him in a kind of like Godfather type of way. And he is the voice of the haunted house at Disneyland. And he also did for most of his life, he was known as the man of a thousand voices. And he just did endless cartoons. That's how he made his living. And he acted in some stuff, but mostly just did voices after that.
Okay.
So and if you've heard his voice, and yeah, he played one of the scientists.
Okay.
Yeah. He's the kind of the guy that has like the really kind of deep voice. I mean, if you know the voice from Haunted Mansion, you would know, oh, that's the guy from Haunted Mansion.
Okay.
So
I'm not familiar with the Haunted Mansion original. The thing I have to. That's one I just never really heard. So I have to listen to that.
It's nothing that you would. Yeah, I mean, I just happen to know it because I dated somebody who had some sort of connection to him. And then I just knew the voice from Disneyland. And then she's like, oh, yeah, he's in that movie, The Thing, and some other stuff. And it's like, oh, fuck that. Cool. Okay. But it's, what else is there? I like the directing. I like the editing. I thought the lighting was good. Black and white was good. I thought The Thing looked good. That didn't bother me. I don't know.
And for the time, I mean, the special effects were actually pretty good for the time. I mean, how the electrocution where they showed the lightning, the electric coming. Again,
I love
spoilers.
when they did that in movies. I love that.
And it's like, dude, okay, yeah. I mean, I wish we could go back to simpler times. I hate when everything is freaking CGI'd at this point. Everything under the sun. If you have to have a movie and 95% of the movie is CG, Aquaman.
Oh, you leave Aquaman alone. I'll say Ant-Man. Ant-Man 3.
Hey, I like Aquaman 3, but it's like 95% of it is CG. I mean, the only parts that are not CG are the parts where he's out of the water and.
Well, they've compared like Ant-Man 3 to Aquaman 2, and Aquaman 2 does it much better. But yeah, it's all green screen and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's but I think that they could have done the book in a way that you spend a little bit of money on just on an alien, because there's enough movies made around that time where it's a creature. You could even do this creature and then have it burnt down to nothing.
Make it, instead of having him look the way he does, keep the design, but make it like 3 red eyes, and make it look like worms coming out of his head.
Yeah, and when he dies, it somehow gets into one of the scientists or army guys, and then they have to, and then we're seeing them as a nice guy walking down the hallway holding doors open for people, and then all of a sudden now he's kind of a dick. And they're like, well, what is wrong with this guy? And now we kind of get into the whole kind of invasion of the body snatchers type of thing, where it's the same actor but playing 2 different roles, and of course they have to kill that actor, and from time to time the actor just puts his hand on somebody that's infected, the infected hand touches somebody, so now that person's infected. So now when they die, they have to go. They could have done. I think they could have done something. They could have, and it would still be cheap, because now this because I watched a thing about it on YouTube where the author didn't like the movie, the critics didn't like the movie, The critics called it just cheap and stupid, childish. I don't think it became a cult film until later.
I mean, let's be real here, man. How many of the critics are actually for the actual any movie anymore? I mean, unless it's some big time Hollywood director that they love and respect.
But back then, critics were critics. They weren't people like me. They're not some guy sitting in their kitchen, talking on a laptop. These guys were actually film critics. Yeah.
True enough. True enough.
Yeah. So
they could still be jerks, though.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
as I'm sure things haven't changed that much with critics,
but
it just didn't. Like I guess like kids. I think they said like kids loved it. It did fine. It did good, but a lot of critics and stuff did not like it.
yeah,
Which I get. I mean, if you're somebody who read the story, you'd probably be pretty
and then
disappointed.
expect the movie to be like a carbon copy. And again, let's be real here. And a lot of people got mad with like any adaptation. I mean, you look at all the adaptations, like Lord of the Rings, for example. Everyone got mad because they left out one character from the Shire, and it's like, dude, okay, first of all, it wouldn't work. Second of all, nobody cares. It was a good movie. It did what it had to do, and this one character probably would have broke the movie. Let's be real here.
I can't be a hypocrite because I got to say that I've read books and then criticize the movies when they come out. So
I understand that, but here's my look at it. Okay, if you're going to adapt a book, and if you have to change some things because you can't physically do that particular thing, that's fine. If you have to change a few things here and there, you'll still be loyal to the story. If you know what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
for example, Lord of the Rings was basically almost the books to a key. It's just they didn't have Tom Bombadil in there, who was, I guess, is an annoying character that a lot of people today, if they read the books, they stop reading the book because of Tom Bombadil.
oh, okay. I
Like,
don't know enough
wow,
about
okay.
the book, so okay.
I've never read it either. I want to at some point, but I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, I loved the book, but then when it got to Tom Bombadil, I hated it." Wow, that bad, huh?
Okay.
Oh boy.
I mean, there are certain things. If it's an old book, like I started reading novelizations or books that were based on movies that came out decades ago, so it didn't bother me. Like when I read Jaws, the book is different from the movie. I mean, it ends differently. It's Brody is not Roy Scheider. Brody looks more like Dom DeLuise. I mean, he's like 300 pounds and balding, and it's
Kind
the
of a
shark.
jerk.
Well, his wife has an affair with Hooper. The
Oh,
shark doesn't
okay, so
explode.
his
You
wife
know,
has. I
so
thought he had the affair. For the last
no, she dated Hooper's brother, and then because Hooper was there, she had the affair with Hooper.
Okay.
And Brody knew that Hooper had an affair with her. So in the movie, Hooper survives, from the cage or the water, but in the book, he doesn't. The shark rips him out,
Yeah.
and it pops up from the sea, and it's kind of hanging there for a moment. And Brody keeps shooting Hooper, not knowing if he's a bad shot or if he's purposely shooting Hooper.
Yeah.
Because of it. And the shark doesn't blow up. It dies. It just gets a harpoon in it and it kind of runs out of speed and falls down with Quint kind of waving like Ahab did. It's very different. So I've come to accept that stuff. But from time to time, like I Am Legend, I just Last Man on Earth would be the closest one that matches the book because that's actually written by Richard Matheson. But then the Omega
The
Man
Will
and
Smith one just
Will
did not
Smith's
do
one
it.
doesn't follow it at all.
No.
I mean, they're completely different movies, and so that's a
I
bucket list
mean, like the
movie for
only
me to make.
thing that Will Smith's version may have gotten a little bit, and very loosely, is the like where like the light when it's light out they stay away, but when it's dark they come out. That's like the only thing that stays stuck with the book.
Well, yeah, because in the book they're like zombie vampires,
They're more vampires than zombies,
so
and
it's
they can actually talk to them, like because in the book they keep calling out for him to come out. He's like, "Come
yeah
out! We want you to come out. We're not going to hurt you."
yeah, it's Neville's best friend before he got infected. So he keeps yelling Neville, Neville. But then there are the people that can go out in the light. So it's different. It's quite different from any of the
Yeah,
movies, I think, except for Last Man on Earth, which is with Vincent Price, which
yeah.
I love. I love that movie. But so I get that they would change who goes there when they made the thing from another world, but it seems like it's more a you could have almost called this anything, you know,
I think
the creature
if you
from the
look at the
cold or something.
yeah, but if you look at the thing, it says inspired by the thing from another world.
I
I
think it
think
just is
some of them's
based on the story.
based on well, basically, I look at every time it says based on a certain book, I just look at it more like, okay, we just took some cool parts out of the story and we just kind of made our own thing. So that's where I look at it anymore.
Okay, I mean, still a good movie, still a good film.
It's a good movie. Yeah, I liked it.
So,
This is the first time I watched it, so I really enjoyed it.
oh, okay, yeah, I've seen it a couple times.
I've seen Carpenter's and the prequel. I've seen Carpenter's many times. The prequel I think I've seen once before, but I've only seen it one time, so I didn't really remember it. And it's been a while since I've seen Carpenter's The Thing as well. It's been like at least a good couple years. So I was like, there was something that was like, oh, wait, I thought this happened later in the movie. And it's like, no, this happened the first.
Right. Well, then let's. I would like to go to the prequel.
Okay.
That's how I watched it. How did you watch it? I watched prequel
I
first.
watched it in chronological because it's been so long since I've seen them. So I wanted to watch them. I watched the 50s version, then I watched the Carpenter's version, and then I watched the prequel. So
Okay.
next time I will watch it, the prequel, then Carpenter's,
Yeah,
because
because
it.
I wanted to because I saw the prequel in the theater,
Okay.
and then I think I watched Carpenter's first, then went to the theater, and I
Yeah.
wanted to see how close they made the Norwegian camp. And from what I understand, is they made it like almost like 100%
Yeah.
the same thing, and
Mm-hmm.
which I like. But it's if you were to watch the prequel and then Carpenter's thing, do you think that it would work? Because it ends with the dog and the helicopter shooting at the
Yeah.
dog, and then it begins with the helicopter and the dog.
I think they did a pretty good job trying to connect both. Um, I really enjoyed like especially when you see the in Carpenter's version, you see the creature with the two faces melted together. I like how they showed you how that actually happened in the movie. So and then you see like where they died and where they found them is in the same place. So I like how they tried to keep it faithful with how it went down in the original in Carpenter's version.
Do you think in Carpenter's version, when they're looking at those VHS tapes, that there were women at the camp?
I mean, it didn't really say there was, and didn't really say there wasn't either. So
I would say
probably
as
not.
yeah, as from when the film was made, which I believe was 82, and there's all men at the camp, I would probably think that if you asked Carpenter back then, hey, if you made a prequel kind of like the original film, do you think there'd be women? I think
Yeah,
he would probably say no.
yeah, probably.
But I guess going off of the
That means
original
that, but you know
film,
what that means though. That means the 1982 version of the thing is sexist, man. It's sexist.
it is sexist, but it's not racist because there are
That's true.
different types of people there.
That's true.
So
That's true.
and so I didn't mind there being women at the camp. They also had, I think there were like Eskimos that were, I don't know if I'm being politically incorrect with that, with saying Eskimo or not, but with them being cooks. And I think that's in the book because they do talk about in the book that there are, I think it's like kind of native
Yeah,
working
he's the
there.
cook for them.
Yeah,
And
that
because
there's the
in the
cooks.
book he kind of throws it out there. It's like he's like, well, if you're infected, I'm not cooking for you, and I'm cooking for me, not for you.
Yeah, they also have cows in the book,
Oh yeah, they
and
did.
yeah, they mention that there's animals up there, I guess, for them to eat
The
and drink
dogs and the
from.
cows. Well, the cow, I guess they were milking the cow, so they
Yeah,
had milk up there. But
but then they
mm,
said don't, because that's where the animals got involved in the book, is that they're like, well, if a cow is infected, but the cow doesn't know it's infected, and we take the milk from that infected cow and we drink the milk,
are we gonna get infected?
yeah.
I don't know.
So
It
we didn't have any of that in either of the other two
no, I don't think
films.
they even did any of that in the movies. Any of the movies actually.
No. So I don't, kind of go back to the woman thing in this. I don't mind Kate being in it. One, I absolutely love, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I think she's gorgeous.
Was that
So
the main one, the one that was in the lab, and they told her to come to
yeah,
go to the
that's
camp?
yeah,
Yeah,
Kate.
she was a great actress. I thought she did a fantastic job from beginning to end.
Yeah, she's I guess could be kind of on that kind of scream queen type of thing because she's been in other horror films. So I guess she's not opposed to it. But I liked how they brought her. The one thing I did not like with the prequel is I don't like that they made a villain. So the main scientist seemed to be her like antagonist. And so at the end of the movie, when we see that giant thing, it's his face on it.
Yeah,
Where in Carpenter's The Thing, there was none of that. The creature was just the villain.
it was just basically a creature. It wasn't taking on anybody's face or anything. It was just like what you know. We'll get to that when we get to the thing, but I don't. There's a lot of stuff I don't remember. I didn't remember seeing much of the thing in the Carpenter movie before. I thought we only saw like maybe maybe a part of it, or maybe like maybe a tentacle here and there. But
Oh no.
this time watching it, I didn't remember. I may not have seen the entire thing. Now I'm thinking about it. This might be the first time I watched it the entire way through because I remember the first time I seen it was at my it was at my buddy's house, and I don't remember there being that much of the thing. I thought it was kind of like like I said, you saw a tentacle here, you saw like the the mutated body, the dead pup, the dead version of it. But then again, I'm not sure. Or maybe I just
No.
wasn't paying attention at that point. I don't remember.
Probably yeah, probably just not paying attention. Yeah. Because I mean
Hey,
it's
I know I've noticed from when I was younger, when I've watched movies before, to how I watch movies now, I pay attention to everything now. So I appreciate movies a lot more now as an adult than I did as a teenager. And that was when the last time I've seen John Carpenter's The Thing was when I was a teenager. So I was like, it's been quite a couple years, so I need to go back and watch this.
I got to see it at a sneak preview in like 81.
Oh wow.
Yeah, with like a packed house. And they even gave out blue t-shirts with the poster of The Thing on it.
Oh
I
wow.
remember that. And then it bombed because of ET. Like bombed heavily. But
Dizzy,
that's
this is why I have a personal beef with ET. Two freaking movies. It got killed because of ET.
what was the other one?
This
The
one,
Thing and what?
Blade Runner.
Oh, okay.
Two of my favorite movies.
Those are
Both
yes.
got killed by ET. That's why I tell ET.
I can understand that. But you know, for the prequel, there was no ET and it just bombed by itself. So, you know, it how much money did it make? Let's see here. Let's take a look. Let's see here. Let's go back and look at they're saying the movie from 1972, Horror Express, with Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, Telly Savalas, is actually an adaptation. I'm just seeing that right now on Wikipedia of Who Goes There. Have you ever seen Horror Express?
I have not.
It scared the shit out of me as a kid. It's a public domain movie, so you can easily find it, and it takes place in Siberia, and it's all
What's
on
it
a
called again?
train. Horror Express,
The Horror Express.
just Horror Express, no the
Just Horror Express. Okay.
Horror Express,
I'll have to
and
look.
it's
I'll have to look
these
up this now.
guys. Yeah, they find like a yeti. It's like a yeti in ice, and they bring it on this train, and it's in this box, and it has a red eye. And when people look in the red eye, they start to bleed, and the yeti thing can go into your body, and it starts taking over people on the train, and then it brings people
Okay.
back to life. And it's
Okay.
man, it scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. It's a great
I will
film.
say though, keep in mind this was my first time of watching the thing from another world. I will say the jump scares did get me a couple of times. I will admit. I mean, yeah, it was kind of cheesy when you, but they timed it perfectly though, so I will give them that.
There, but yeah, okay, all right. Man, did this bomb. So the prequel, its budget was 38 million and it only made 31.5.
Ooh,
That is not good.
terrible, man, terrible. I remember a lot of people said they didn't care for the prequel when it came out,
Because
but
nobody
then
wanted
I've heard
it.
a lot of people said they liked it.
It's one of those films that just nobody wanted. What else did the director do? God, like nothing really. 96, he did a short film called Red Rain. 2011, he did The Thing. 2020, wow, that's a jump from 2011 to 2020. The Forgotten Battle, that he was a producer of some stuff. And then in the 80s and 90s, he was like a cinematographer, editor, set director. Why would they give this film to this person who's done nothing?
See, this is why this is what I hate when they do this. I hate when they give it to someone that's like barely done nothing. I mean, that would be like,
Well,
okay,
so
I'm gonna say this so it doesn't get anybody in trouble. John, you know who I'm read between the lines when I tell you this. It would be like giving Star Wars to a director you and me know.
oh, because he's made 100 movies, but they all suck.
Exactly.
Ugh, ugh. Well, here's something. So originally, this director was going to be directing Army of the Dead, but that went
The
into
one that
development. The Zack Snyder film that went
okay.
into development hell. So then they said, okay, why don't you direct the Thing prequel? And then later, Zack Snyder directed Army of the Dead.
So it's been in development hell that long?
Yeah, it looks like they saw his short film Red Rain, and that's what got him the job.
Wow. Okay.
So I mean, I don't think the movie is horrible. I think it's unnecessary, but I get that if you want to tell what happened in the in the Norwegian camp, I like the actors that are in there. I like a lot
Yeah.
of the characters. I like the guy who is Lars. I like the guy who plays Lars who can't speak English, and then he's the guy who gets shot at the beginning of the thing. I like that him and Kate develop this relationship,
Mhm.
that he's kind of like her right hand man, and they don't speak the same language, but they kind of know what to do.
Yeah.
So I liked their relationship. I like
Mhm.
the guy with like the big red kind of beard who sadly gets the arm on his face.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was in Game of Thrones.
Okay, him I
That's
like.
what I think that may have been what got him into Game of Thrones. I think, or
Oh,
maybe
okay.
right around the same time. But that's what. As soon as I see him, I was like, dude from Game of Thrones, played one of the wildlings.
Oh, okay. Um, Joel Egerton. He's okay. I've never been a massive fan of him, but he's fine. He's fine in this. Who's the helicopter pilot? The
Okay.
one of the two Americans.
Okay. Gotcha.
The black American, his friend, like there was nothing there to hit for him to do. He just dies. There's really no character development on him at all.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then some of the other scientists were just okay, and there was the I guess the other woman to show that there's not like a rapey vibe. I guess if we have a couple
Yeah.
women running around, there's not going to be that weird thing of guys following Kate into the shower or something. So um I did not mind the CGI for the
Yeah.
thing.
I mean
I actually thought it looked good, but it's probably on your disc. They have the footage of it practical. The whole movie was practical. And then the studio said, no, make it CGI. And
um,
so they changed everything from being practical to CGI.
is it the bonus feature The Thing Evolves?
It might be because they talked to like two of the guys that were from K and B, and they talk about how mad they were that um
Yeah, because I would have preferred to see this practical more than a
that was a
CG.
studio thing. That's
I
one of the reasons
mean,
why I defend the movie is because everybody said let's do this practical, and you could see all the effects are practical, and it's the studio.
yeah. I mean, I can understand like maybe some of the ones they just couldn't do practical doing CG, but then the ones are like they can do practical, like make it practical. I
Yeah,
mean,
you could do a little bit of both, which is what
yeah,
a lot of movies do. They kind of combine them together. Oh, so this is before I forget. So this is my thing.
nice.
So and it says, for the producers of Dawn of the Dead.
So I got a question for you. When it first came out, were you one of the people that were mad that they just called it The Thing again?
Yeah, yeah, I was. It's kind of
It's
annoying.
like, why didn't you just call it like Thing or something? Not call it The Thing. And it's like, well, which one? The 2012 one or the Carpenters?
I
So that's
don't.
why every time I'm referring to any of them, I always call it John Carpenter's The Thing, and then The Thing, so
Yeah,
people
I
know
say John
what I'm talking about.
Carpenter's a thing, or 80s thing, the thing from the
Yeah,
80s, or the thing prequel.
yeah, that's
Um,
usually what I say. The Thing prequel.
but I mean, I guess if this was a huge hit, then it might have spun off with the thing 2, the thing 3, and then you wouldn't count Carpenter's the thing.
I don't know. Maybe that's what they were trying to do. Maybe they're trying to reboot the entire series and go. But then they did it so well that it should. Like I think maybe because they knew how. bad critics were reviewing, they just did that last shot. They filmed that last scene for the theatrical version and send it off. So it goes into the thing, I guess. Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, they definitely wanted to tie it in,
Mhm.
but I think if the film was a hit, they could have gone to the Russian station or
Or
just a different station entirely. So it's
or we made Carpenter's the thing at that point and just did like the new version, but still keep maybe bring Carpenter on board for the sequel.
be a producer on it or
Mhm.
something. So it's yeah, because I didn't hate it as much as everybody else did, because I was going in, seeing it on the big screen, and I'm like, oh, there's the axe that got hit in the wall, or oh, there's the radio guy who slits his wrists. Um,
Mhm.
so I was
Or slit his
looking
throat.
for, and I know that it's got to be a problem when you do have to explain what happened in that movie in the prequel. Like, I don't like how they did the guy with the two heads. I think it should have been one head that got pulled apart. Because I thought it was kind
Okay.
of dumb that the creature goes on top of him and then kind of flops down and rubs his head up against him, and then it becomes two heads.
Well, that was kind of. I think they were trying to do the Lovecraftian vibe there, because if you remember, a lot of Lovecraft movies did that.
I would
Like
like to
for
better
example,
if it
well,
was
this
just
this is a newer one, but if you remember, do you remember the Color Out of Space? The Jack Nicholson, Jack Nicholson. Oh my God, why am I swearing? Nicholas Cage. Oh my God, Jack Nicholson. Good lord.
for what movie?
The Color Out of Space.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Remember how they had the two bodies like kind of like mushed together like that? It's a newer movie, obviously, but a lot of the Lovecraft that's kind of like the vibe they go for, like the body horror kind of deal.
Right. I don't know. I've always, when I saw Carpenter's The Thing, I figured it was one guy who was pulling apart. And that's why you had the two different heads, because it's one head that's not separated into two. I didn't get that. It was and
Maybe.
the thing came down and went on top of the guy. I didn't get that. I just I don't know. I'm not the hugest
Yeah.
fan of that, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I
I
thought it was
mean,
okay.
yeah. I mean, some of the deaths were kind of cheap. I will admit. I think like
Well,
the guy that they had the thing on his mouth. I was kind of like, man, that's.
well,
I
and
mean,
that never happens in the Carpenter one, so that's totally something new. And then they couldn't do the blood again, so they had to do, and they do explain it. They were going to do the blood, but the blood gets destroyed. So it's like, well, do we have another test? And then Kate's like, well, fillings. I found these fillings, which I didn't mind either. I thought
yeah,
that was fun. Oh,
that
so
was
so
pretty.
so to let you know, so the effects artists who were K and B, but they weren't called K and B at that time. They'd split up, but they also did like Trimmers and a whole bunch of other movies. They got so Predator, Aliens, stuff like that. They got
Mhm.
so mad at the studio for using CGI instead of their practical effects. They crowdfunded and went out and made their own Alien movie
Nice.
with Lance Hendrickson. It's the same idea. They're on a ship, they're in the Antarctic, they find this, and then the thing happens. And it's
Nice.
all
Okay.
their effects, and
What's it called again?
it's Harbinger Down or Harbinger
Harbor.
Down.
Okay.
And
I'll have
it's
to see if I
even
can.
directed by Alex, I'm sorry, yeah, Alec Gills, who's the
Mhm.
main effects guy.
Okay.
So he's one of the guys that always plays. If they work on Predator, he's the Predator. If they make an
Okay.
Alien movie, he's the Alien. But he's the
Okay.
head of the company. It's like a tradition with him that if you
Mhm.
hire him, he plays the monster. So he was the main effects guy on the prequel, and like I said, got pissed off and then went to did this. Now maybe this is where I found out that they were so mad, because it doesn't list any special features, but maybe there's something here. But
Okay.
it's either this or it's the behind the scenes with the thing that he talks about being
Okay.
really mad, and they just went out and did this.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that down. Track that down. I want to check that out.
yeah, it's not a bad movie, and it's worth watching, especially if you know the history behind it.
Yeah, I mean that's that kind of stuff I love when someone's like, oh, well, because the studio screwed me on this one, I went ahead and took everything I did and I went and made this. It's like, yeah, stick it to the man.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what they did. So, and
Good, stick it to the man. Especially, I hate when studios interfere with stuff like that because it's like, dude, I'm a firm believer of let the director's vision be the director's vision. I mean, if someone's like, okay, I want it to be practical. If it was the director's vision to be okay, let's do all CGI, then okay, go for it. But if it was his vision to go, okay, I want to do practical and maybe a little bit of CGI, hey, whatever. But then when the studios jump in, it's like, oh, but it has to be this way because all the other big movies are doing using CGI, so we have to use CGI.
well, and it's after the fact too, and I think that's one of the reasons why it bombed. One, it's unnecessary, and two, people just heard about the CGI, which I did not think looked bad. It,
No,
it was fine. The CGI I thought looked pretty good, but watching it and going, wow, that could have been practical.
yeah,
That would have been so much better.
especially some of the scenes you could you can really tell it was CG. Especially like the scene with which I'm getting wait a minute, I might be getting too confused here. The scene where she goes into the garage and the girl is telling her, hey, um you know all the keys are in that one drawer
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and he's looking.
That's the prequel. Yeah, they go into the like the supply closet or
Mhm.
whatever it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
and you can tell that was like that was
it
you can tell
becomes
that
too,
was CG. It
it's
wasn't bad looking, but it
no,
was
but
just
it's
like you
too
can tell.
but it's too big. Like it's
Yeah,
huge. Like her entire chest went out like that, and it has all these
yeah.
teeth on it. And with CGI, you could do that, but as a practical effect, you got to put in, maybe it would have been more like this because they're like, okay, we have to
And
have
it
an
would have been
actor
a little
wear
more
it.
scarier than
Yeah, and so
just
yeah, but that's where she's
and
running
seeing all
down the
these
hallway.
tentacles waving around. It's like it just seems like you just wanted to fill the screen with tentacles at that point.
Well, and like that's the scene where she's running down the hallway that I got from the book.
Mhm.
Is that when it talks about running? I think that's where they took that for the book. Is it running? Because there's where they first encounter it, which is under that porch,
Mhm.
and it almost looks like a
Kind of like a
snail
grasshopper almost.
or well, it had the things yeah, like the feelers up here, but then it was
Mhm.
eating the guy, and it kind of looked like a clam or something that was kind
Yeah.
of chunk taking him down like
Well,
that.
when you seen the first, you kind of seen like some hind legs a little bit, and it kind of looked almost like a grasshopper a little bit. But then when you seen it after they burned it and they were doing like the autopsy on it, it kind of looked like you said a clam or something.
Yeah, then it still had its
It's kind
claws
of
and
like
stuff sticking up, but of course it's like a combination of like 20 different things.
mhm.
So and yeah, I just didn't like the doctor being the villain.
Yeah.
And I liked it exploding because I thought they did that pretty good because that looked right.
Mhm.
And see, that's the thing is you got to make sure that if you're going to redo this, that what's in Carpenter's the thing translates to this one. So that you got to make sure that part of the building is burned, that window is smashed,
The
the
axe is
axe
in the right door.
with the blood.
Hmm.
I like that he throws the axe again, because he cuts that arm, and then
Yeah.
he goes to grab the axe, and she says, "Don't,"
Like don't
because
touch it.
of course, it could infect him, but that's also a good way of just leaving it in the door for continuity.
Mhm. Sure.
So one of the ones that I didn't like the CGI is the guy on the helicopter at the beginning. So after the guy's killed under
Yeah.
the porch, they go up in the helicopter and the guy kind of cracks open.
Yeah.
I mean, it's too much. It's too
Like
much going on.
sometimes I think it makes more effective if they would have just kept the camera on him and just seen him like freaking out and not seen the thing, like him turning into the creature, may have been a little more effective. Or
Okay.
having like a first person view of the creature, like and you just see like tentacles coming out of the side of the screen, and all you see is him, the creature, like honing in on him, and all you see in him is going ah, and it's
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know.
I agree through at times not seeing what it is better. Just seeing a shadow or something of the tentacles coming up.
Yeah,
And then him freaking out, and then we see the helicopter doing this.
especially that early in the movie. I mean, especially like you kind of want. The thing I liked about Carpenter's version was like you didn't see the thing, like the creature, until the very end of the movie. You didn't see it in, well, true form, whatever you want to call it at that point. You didn't see it in its entirety until the moment he's gonna blow the freaking thing up. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that's
and
what I
it's
liked
huge.
about it. Because before you just seen like someone turning into it. You seen the it might be everything all right there.
Yeah, I accidentally touched something. So
Oh, I was
yes,
like,
I
"What's
am
going
now
on here, man?
fine.
What did we do? What I do?"
I am now fine. We can proceed.
Guys, I think the thing got John. I think we're screwed. We're
Okay, I'm back. I'm back. Yeah, it's Carpenter's one, because I remember Siskel and Ebert hated it, and Carpenter got blacklisted for a very long time because of this, and ET had a lot to do with that,
wow.
and it's but with this one, you don't see that. I think maybe because it's CGI, or it's not as gross. It doesn't have all the blood that the original one
I mean, it
had,
was pretty gross, man. I mean, the
but
prequel.
it's
We're
C
still
but
talking
it's
about the prequel.
CGI gross.
Yeah, I mean, but it's still you still seeing like people like coming apart and stuff. I don't know. I think Carpenter's version seemed more realistic than that.
Well,
I mean,
it did, but people didn't like it because they'd never seen anything like it before. I mean, it was all practical, and then they used for like the spaceship, that was a like a map painting, and they were on like at the time it was a blue screen is what they were on.
yeah.
They changed it to green later, but it's yeah, I don't know. I just don't think people I don't think they wanted this movie. I don't think that they wanted, the prequel, that they didn't want the CGI. They wanted, if they had to watch it,
Well,
it would have to be practical. So, what did
I
you think
mean,
about them
I
going
think if
in?
they ever decide to try to go back to the Thing universe, I think from this day on, maybe just try to do practical. Maybe see if you can maybe get John Carpenter back. At least be a producer or something during the film, or get him back in the director's chair and make him see what he wants to do with it. Even if he wants to even do anything with it, we don't know.
Yeah, we would definitely have. I mean, the guy's getting up there in age. He's pretty old right now. So,
Yeah, he's what, in his 80s now.
yeah, he's old. One of the
Yeah,
things I definitely did not like in the prequel is I did not like the beginning with like that snow car, the snow cab.
yeah, that
And
was strange.
they're driving because they're trying to find the distress signal, and
Hmm.
then the guy tells the other guy a joke about a son fucking his grandmother. I thought that was kind of weird, and they
Yeah,
stop, and the vehicle goes straight down this crevice and then stops, and they turn on the lights, and then there's the saucer. I didn't like any of that. I didn't feel that any of that felt real to me. I didn't. I thought they
it
should have
felt very
started this.
forced. It
Yeah,
felt very forced. I mean, at least with the beginning of Carpenter's film, I mean, I mean, like even the thing from another world, they went and they found the thing, and how they got to the ship, they had to blow it up. You know what I mean? Even though they end up destroying the ship in the '50s version, but
Right.
you still got to. There was a way they themselves got it, blew it up, and got it out. This version, it just felt like it just they were just in the right place at the right time, and they just fell down a hole and somehow didn't die.
Yeah, how did they get out of that? They would have had to have been towed out, but I would have preferred maybe just somebody getting out of the car. You know, oh, we're right on top of this distress beacon, and then the guy gets out of the car and slips down and ends up down there. So like maybe he dies. Like, oh shit, we got to go down there and get Freud. I'm trying to think of the Norwegian name. And
Trying to think
um
of the reason.
Freud. I have no idea if that's
Floyd.
whatever it is. But
Rest in peace, Floyd.
yeah. And then they go down and that's like they're hanging from a rope or something, and then they see, I didn't like it driving, stopping, and then just literally going straight down, not even at an
Just
angle, but it's straight down and getting stuck, and then they turn on the lights, and then there it is. I just don't like that beginning. I just, for some reason, it just doesn't work for me.
dude, I will tell you, man. As someone that's scared of heights, I would have crapped my pants. I'm just telling you, man. I'm seeing me falling, man. I'd be like, ah, mommy.
Well, yeah, because about another foot, you would have gone all the way through. So what
So
about the ending? What about them going through that cave and then going into the ship, and do you like seeing the ship?
I mean, I liked it, but I just feel like a lot of it was just, I don't know, man. But to me, it felt like they were just trying to. I guess right around this time is when Carpenter's The Thing was starting to get a cult following, if you know what I mean. Like right around the '90s and the early 2000s.
I'm gonna disagree with that, and I would say the '80s when it came out on VHS.
Okay, well, I mean, I've seen like a couple of people talk about it, like
I mean,
like
people are
before.
always discovering it depending on their age,
Yeah. So
but
maybe
I
they were just
remember
like,
it being
well, let's just
big on
make
VHS.
a Thing prequel and let's go with that. And I don't know. It just felt a lot of it just felt like they were trying to make another story. Let's make a new movie, but let's also tie it into Carpenter's. But also, let's make it bigger and better and more cooler for the new kids.
Well, you got to figure with what I read with the director that he was supposed to do Army of the Dead, that went into production hell. He never did it, and then they offered him the Thing prequel. Like, how exactly did that come about? I know, like John McTiernan, the guy who directed Die Hard. Um, Fox, 20th Century Fox, took them to their library and said, "You can remake any movie you want." And he said, "I want to remake Rollerball," which was the biggest mistake of his career because the film
Oh wow!
sucked. Rollerball is a great movie, and the remake sucked. But that's what they did with him, is that they just took him into the vault. What do you want to remake? That. I want to remake that. So I don't know if how exactly this guy, with the very limited amount that he
So
has
was this
made,
supposed to be a remake, or was this supposed to be like a reboot?
I wonder if he was under contract and they're like, well, shit, we got to give him a movie. So
Oh, that's
I
interesting.
think it's like Star Trek, like J.J. Abrams' Star Trek. It's a remake prequel or a prequel remake.
Or like a reboot kind of deal.
Yeah.
But
So
then
this,
again,
because I mean, we've seen this stuff. We've been to the French camp. We know what's going on. So I don't blame them for saying, well, why don't we make a not French camp, but Norwegian camp? Why don't we make a film that takes place at the Norwegian camp?
yeah, I mean, I get it, but it's also like kind of like I don't know. It's like it felt very forced at times, and some of it was just like, dude, like you said earlier, do we need this movie? We
No,
really don't.
no.
I think leaving. I think when we watched Carpenter's The Thing, and they went to the camp and they seen the axe in the door and they seen the guy that slit his wrist and his throat or what. Is it his throat? I thought it was his throat he
Yeah, it's
slit.
his throat. It's his throat and his wrist. So I think he did the
Oh,
wrist
so he
first,
slit both?
probably throat, and then like that.
Okay, I thought he just slit his throat and the blood just went down his arm and just
Oh no,
froze the.
it's cut.
Oh, okay. I
I'm
didn't see
pretty
that.
sure it's cut. I thought that he cut his wrist. At least that's what I thought I saw.
I thought
Neck
it
and
just
wrist.
came from his throat. Maybe it could be both. I'm not sure. But you see that scene, it's like, okay, something wrong happened here. Okay, and these guys were chasing the freaking dog, so the dog was a big mistake bringing it in here.
Well, and that's the thing is that you need to make sure also that there's a dog. Now, do you give him a bunch of dogs so then it's just like Carpenter's, or do you only give him one dog? And then the thing can mimic off the dog, and then that's what runs to
But
the
here's the
American
thing: I
camp.
didn't. Did you even? Is there even a dog in this movie? Because I don't even see the dog there.
Yeah, he's with Lars. He's
Oh
when
yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah,
bringing
yeah,
the
yeah.
big
Okay.
ice piece back, Lars is with the dog, and then
Oh,
it
okay. Yes,
kills
yes, yes,
Lars's
yes,
dog
yes.
because there's only
I
the
remember that now. Okay.
yeah.
It was at the very beginning of the movie. Okay, yeah. So
We see him a few times, but he's not a big deal like he is in Carpenter's.
yeah,
So it's I'm my problem with alien spacecraft, unless they're humanoid, which has always bugged the shit out of me, as you know from when we did the Star Wars films. Anakin is not human; he's humanoid. He's an alien. He's humanoid. So unless you're humanoid, how are how are you operating the ships like they're made for humans? So if you're the thing and you're this tentacle waving blobby thing,
monster thing that doesn't look
how
like
are you
it has intelligence.
well in how so like Independence Day, the aliens still had feet, hands, heads, so you
Hmm.
could see them operating buttons and screens and
Yeah,
stuff. So but when you're doing something like this, what is the how would it control the ship? So it's got the
especially
regular.
when it's like a monster that's gone mad. It's just the only thing it's really thinking about is food and eating people and manipulate and what's the word I want to use? Copying people. You know, what is how they say it? Not manipulate. Is it manipulating or
Duplicating.
yeah?
It's duplicating.
So that's its
Well, it is
only.
manipulating. It's manipulating their body parts. Yeah.
Okay, so is this thing as intelligent as we think it is? Is it
Yes.
intelligent? Because they don't really show that it has any intelligence.
Well, if it took so it would have to. So if we go off the beginning of Carpenter's movie with the UFO going down to Earth, which is supposed to be thousands of years ago, it's kind of
Mhm.
sputtering. So it's possible that the thing was on a planet that would have an alien that would have arms, legs, and a head. It duplicated that person, took over their ship, and that's how it could fly.
Okay.
And then it crashed on Earth. Because what they found in the prequel, because it's that 10 feet and then it got frozen, to me doesn't look like it would be able to fly a ship.
No. I mean, like I said, it looks like a creature that an alien would have, like like in a vault somewhere that they unleash on the planet because they want to take over the world or something. Not
Yeah,
something that can actually, control a ship and fly a ship and actually have the intelligence to build a brand new ship or anything. You know what I mean?
yeah, you would have to absorb,
The right person's mind, maybe.
yeah, to be like you'd have to absorb an astronaut to be able to fly a spaceship,
Yeah.
because then you would have that person's.
Or one of the scientists that actually knows what they're doing, so they know, how to build a spaceship or something, or know how to do chemicals and stuff to make, or maybe enough information to be able to repair a ship or something.
Well, that they kind of do with Carpenter a little bit. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
get into that then. So what? So they do explain in the prequel why the three guys in Carpenter's one could see it. So they go up on that ledge and they could just see the big ship. Then it turns on
Mm-hmm.
its engines and melts all the ice around it.
Yeah.
Um, and that it originally crashed and kind of made like a cave before it
Yeah.
settled. Um, I do get confused about the inside of the ship because I just don't know. Well, also I was going to bring this up earlier. I was while watching both of these, I was watching who the creature duplicated, and for some reason in Carpenter's one, it didn't bother me in the order that it went because I was watching like the dog jumped on the one guy and was licking his face.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's I'm a doggy, help me, they're trying to kill me, help me. And then it goes over to the dog guy and he pets it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, you're the dog guy. Okay, so now I'm going to be with you. And then
Yeah.
it goes to the dog cage and wants to replicate all the dogs.
Yeah.
So it's like it has an order that it's going in some way to show intelligence. But with the
Perhaps
prequel, I'm not seeing a correct order. Like,
it's just duplicating whoever it wants to duplicate at that point.
yeah, it's like whoever the script says it's going to duplicate, it's going to duplicate. So, like the very first person I think we see, right, is the woman.
The guy in the helicopters first.
Okay,
There's a guy in the
so
helicopter.
the guy in the helicopter. Why would it reveal itself if the idea is we are going to get out of here to infect the planet?
Possibly because she was trying to wave it down, and he was like, well, let's land it again. Let's get back down. And then the creature's like, well, no, the heck with that. If I'm not getting out of here, I'm taking you all down with me.
Okay, okay, all right. So then the next person they get infected is the woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she just burst out with the giant teeth and all that type of shit in the back, and she tries to kill Kate, but not absorb her. So they're running down the hallway. The Kate tells the guy, "Get out of the way, run." He doesn't, and the thing kills him. And then, for no reason at all, I think it's Lars comes up with the flamethrower. Where in Carpenter's the thing, people are told to go get the flamethrower. But in this, he shows up, kills the woman. So then who's after that?
Then right after that is when they all got together and they're like, hey, um, no, the American they're trying to gather everybody up, and then the Americans come back, the ones that were in the helicopter.
Okay,
They
so
come back and they're like, "Hey, we don't trust you. Let's lock you up in some place or whatever." And then they go in and then they try to do the filling thing. Like, they can't duplicate if you don't have fillings. So they start looking in each person's mouth, and then they separate them.
So they're still tied up. The helicopter, the Americans
Yes.
are still tied up while they're doing the test.
Yes.
So the test goes on. They say, now we got to go down and test the Americans.
Mm-hmm. They go into the cabin, and then they see that they're gone. And then they go back. They're like, hey, they're gone. They're thinking they turned into the creature. And then they hear a crash in the back, and then it's them with flamethrowers as well. And then the guy gets shot.
The fight. Then we got the leader, who's like Gary from Carpenter's version. The leader, he passes out or something.
He gets knocked out from the explosion because the gasoline from the guy's flamethrower.
Oh yeah, because
leaks on and it hits the flame and it blows up. He goes over here. They bring him into the room where they're supposed to meet up again.
He's like this,
and then all of a sudden his arm comes off and he starts turning into the thing.
Okay, so now he's the thing, which then so once again, there's no real pattern here to who's of why. So then the hand that comes off of, because the two of the people are carrying him in because he's passed out. When it comes off, it attaches to the redhead with the big beard, the guy from Game of Thrones. Gets on his mouth like that.
Touches to his mouth.
Yeah, kind of like a face hugger. And then he's on the ground, and their flamethrower is not working because there's air trapped in it.
And I think they dropped it or something.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
Yeah, they explained it's the same thing in the Carpenter one when McCready
has it.
Yeah, and then that's the captain or the commander. He burst open, does the reverse thing, gets on top of the guy, and that's when the faces meld. And then they leave.
Yeah.
And say, I'm just trying to think of, is there logic within?
Not really.
In this, where there seemed to be more logic in the thing. Carpenter's the thing.
No, not really. It just seems like it was just random. At least with Carpenter's thing, it seemed to like, okay, give it a little bit of a reason. Well, maybe not a reason, but it was like, okay, you kind of seen it a little bit. Like it was like subtle clues throughout the entire, like the entire scene. Like, okay, this one, that might be the thing, or no, he might be the thing. But then they would do like really shady things, and you'd be like, oh, he could be the thing, but we're not sure about him. But this one is kind of like obvious. Oh yeah, he's gonna turn into the thing. Yeah, his arms come off.
Yeah, it's just whoever they wanted to be the thing is the thing. Until the end, when they make the bad guy the main scientist. And that's when his face is shown. Because maybe it left him for last because he's smart and it can get the UFO going.
Possible.
So like if it went from, oh, you're a pilot, I want you. Oh, you're ammunitions guy, I want you. Oh, you're the head scientist guy, you're really freaking smart, I want you. But it just seems like the woman at the beginning whose back kind of turns, like, I don't even know what she does. Like, I have no idea what her job is up there. And just like the guy in the helicopter, I don't know what their jobs are. I don't know why it would just randomly, like you would think. So I don't know.
It just felt like a cash grab.
When it comes down to it.
This is too real here.
Well, and then you have at the very, very end is that Joel guy who plays the American. Kate realizes that he's now infected because he doesn't have the earring, and he grabs the wrong ear. And now she definitely knows that he's infected. And even though his door is completely open, he sits there and even though it's a cool shot, gets the flamethrower on him. And when he could have just kind of just fallen out the door, it would have been
And
better if the
just
door was
landed in the snow and
closed.
put himself out or something.
Yeah, yeah. And then she gets into the one of the other snow crawlers or whatever it is, snowmobiles, and it just kind of sits on her. And then it goes to credits. But
Hmm.
before that is when he says, you have enough. I think he says, like, you have enough gas for 50 miles. That should get you there. And it's a Russian station.
Yeah.
So there isn't the same type of mystery as they do at the end of Carpenter's, the thing of
Hmm.
which one of these guys is it. And there have been theories, but all those theories have been proven wrong unless you go by the comic book. So,
Yeah. I mean,
which,
like I said, I think the reason I keep saying that this felt like a cash grab because first of all, it doesn't feel like it's even trying to be remotely similar to Carpenter's thing. I mean, I get they're probably trying to do their own thing, but it's just Carpenter's, like, even the book, even the 1950s movie. It's all like, okay, what is this creature? You know, even though the 50s movie is more of a creature, like a monster movie, but it's still like, okay, what is it? Do we know what it is? Where is it coming from next? You know, there's still a mystery of where it's at. But Carpenter's had more of a mystery behind it. It's like, okay, is it going to affect that guy? No, I mean, he's acting a little funny. Is it going to be him? No, no, it's not him. It's this guy because then eventually after they figure out who it is, then they turn
yeah,
more than just like, oh, I'm the creature. Ah, I'm gonna eat you.
yeah, just kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah,
There
exactly.
should have been with the prequel something where if you watched it on like a second viewing, you would catch
Mhm.
something like, oh, they drink out of the same cup as that person. That's why the saliva. Now that's why they turned into the thing. Something like that instead of it just being so random.
Mhm.
So it's yeah. So you want to move on the Carpenter?
You can move on to Carpenter.
So this is the Scream Factory one, and
So jealous.
it's two discs.
Oh, you didn't get the 3 disc one? I thought there was a 3 disc one at one point.
I only know of the two.
Oh, okay. I
If
thought
there
there was
is,
a
then it
three.
must have come out after this.
No, I
So
think
it's got,
it started off with a 3 disc and then it turned into 2 discs. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that.
I don't know. I got this from my buddy Cliff, who works for Scream Factory. So I don't know. If he had a three, he probably would have given it to me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you got the movie, then the special features, and then it's got the original poster inside. But you also got, because you get this stuff off their website, it's not available anymore, is you get an extra slipcover,
Nice.
which I've never used. That's why it's still in the shape that it is.
Nice.
It just sits in between. So so I think the ending of the prequel, for the most part, matches Carpenter's. So I
Yeah.
think if you did an edit or if you played them back to back in like a theater, they would
Mhm.
match pretty well.
Yeah. I will. I do have to say the the one song that they used throughout the whole thing, that little dun 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 dun. It's like, yes, something's going down.
Oh, it's so this is where it's Marcone, but I don't think it's Marcone. I think it's John Carpenter because that's John Carpenter's music.
Yeah,
That's
that's what I always thought it
that's
was.
very, but it's I think Marcone did the other music, but I think maybe Carpenter did some themes like yeah,
Yeah,
like the dun 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 dun. I think
yeah.
that's Carpenter, but it's been a long there's been a long theory that Carpenter worked on that soundtrack without giving himself credit.
I always thought I always thought Carpenter always did a
No,
a lot of this music for.
Morricone is one of the greatest film composers to ever live. So to
Yeah,
have him on your movie is amazing.
Yeah.
And like Tarantino wanted that for like decades to have an original soundtrack by him. And but the guy's now like in his 80s or late 80s. And so when I saw that music by Morricone, I thought, oh well, that's great. But what about John Carpenter?
Maybe Carpenter just did that original part right
Yeah,
there.
I think there was kind of an infusement of, did some stuff. Carpenter did some stuff. But
Hmm.
yeah, that I really, because that dun dun is very iconic.
Yeah.
And they even used it in the prequel. They used it
Yeah.
at the
They used it
end.
right at the very end. I
Yeah.
think they used a little bit at the beginning.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Hmm.
And the good thing is that they do put the date, 1982, because
Hmm.
the video game that Kurt Russell is playing is so out of date. It's so old that it's just like, wow, that was high tech back then. And they're watching VHS tapes. So
Yeah.
it's, just like it's a regular thing, not because they collect them or something.
Like I seen how this one ends. Let's watch the next one.
Yeah, and then lights up like this giant ass joint. Where
And
even
the, and the,
before
and
it's
the, and the
it's
dude beside him just like hand it
yeah,
over. He's
yeah,
like,
Childs just puts his hand out even before it's lit, fully lit, just like, yeah, bring it over here, bring it over here. Because what else are you gonna do? I mean, it's like a
I
bunch of dudes.
mean, I can assume, you know, there's nothing really to do in Antarctica. You're basically sitting there killing time until you gotta do what you got. Your next job comes in or whatever. Whatever the job is, I don't know.
Yeah, whatever I guess they're studying samples or something in the ice or whatever it is.
Hmm.
Yeah. The one thing, and to go back to the prequel for a second, the one thing I am happy about is that nobody had a relationship. That there aren't the two, people that we do focus on for a relationship. You could say that there's kind of a Ripley Hicks relationship with the American and Kate. Maybe it's kind of
A
developing a little bit, but I
little bit, but
like
then
that
when
there.
she finds out that he's not who he says he is, and she kind of like hesitates to get in the car with him at first.
Is this an allegory? Is this a modern day allegory for maybe you're not who you really are? Maybe you need to change. Is this movie woke? Are these movies woke?
Oh God, woke before woke was cool.
Yeah, I mean it's maybe they're not really showing who they truly are. Especially with the prequel and stuff that maybe I think is that the American guy Joel. I think that he maybe losing the earring is symbolic of something type of thing. It might be. It might be a movie for modern audiences.
Maybe I don't know.
They could call it the woke instead of the thing, the woke.
The
And it
woke
like
thing.
burns on the stage, on the screen. But it's I could see people doing some sort of allegory on it.
Uh,
But I like their relationships too, because there's not as many. There's like 10 people in the prequel. In this one, there's not as many. And so we get to know them a little bit better.
I think there's only like 6 people there.
Yeah. There's a couple weird things, like the guy that takes over for Blair with the glasses, how they find his burned body. He runs out because he thinks he sees Blair, I think it is. And then
Hmm.
they find him later on and his body's all burnt up and they find his glasses. That's like, oh, okay. Well, that was an easy way of getting rid of one of your characters.
No, that was supposed to be what's his name?
That's the guy with the
Fledge or whatever.
glasses with Fuchs. That was supposed to be
Yeah,
Fuchs.
yeah, that was the one with the glasses. That's the one that
Yeah, who he
they
kind of
found and
took
burned.
over for Blair. And Blair is pretty close to the book. I mean,
Yeah.
he goes nuts. He destroys everything in the book, just like he does in the film. And I
Uh-huh.
love how he says, "I'll kill you" when he's like breaking up all the machinery, and he has the gun. He just goes, "I'll kill you," and he just starts firing the guns. He just says it in some really weird way. that it just reminds me of was it William Brinfrey? Is that his name? It does says diabetes. My diabetes. That it just, he doesn't say it exactly right. It's just like a weird way of saying it. And how I like that they put him in the shack. A lot of this was in the book.
Yeah.
And they do talk about in the book the tunnels. And we do see some of those tunnels in this one, because they would use those when the storms hit, because if it's like they said, you wouldn't get 10 feet, you'd freeze to death. So they use the tunnels to go around to the different places.
Yeah.
But I like all the characters. Windows, no, not Windows. The stoner guy cracks me up. He was funny all the time.
Yeah.
Child was good. Or Childs. Yeah. I think he has an S at the end. Childs.
Yeah.
He was good. That's Keith. Is it Keith David or David Keith? I always get those guys confused. I think this was David Keith. I think Keith David. I think Keith David is the white guy and David Keith is the black guy. I think. Well, fuck, it's right here. I literally just pulled it up. Cast.
We're so organized.
Keith David, I am.
Which one is this one?
He's Keith David. Keith, yeah, one? And then Childs.
Oh, okay.
So it's I liked everybody in this. Gary, who was the commander with the gun.
Mm-hmm.
I liked him because in the book, one of the guys does have a gun. And of course, it's beautifully shot because it's Dean Cundy, who's worked with Carpenter on many films since Halloween, maybe even before that. I would probably say John Carpenter's The Thing, I think, is one of the greatest movies ever made. Even with some of its flaws, it is by far one of the greatest movies ever made.
Yeah, I agree.
I have no problem rewatching this movie at all.
I mean, every time I've seen it, I've seen it. It's been so long since I've seen it from the last time I've seen it, so that I forgot a lot of stuff that happened in it. I mean, I knew everything that happened. I just forgot about some of the scenes that we've seen. And I forgot like some of the order. Like, for example, my memory was telling me that the part where you're seeing the helicopter like chasing the dog, I thought that was after Kurt Russell, McGrady or whatever his name is.
Yeah, like McGrady, something like that. Yeah,
McGrady, something like that. Kurt Russell's character that basically throws his drink in the machine and says, "You cheating B-word,
cheating bitch." Hey, I don't get paid for these, so you can say whatever you want.
I choose not to swear. That's just my choice.
But what if you're referring to a dog? What if you're referring to a dog?
I'm still gonna call it a female dog.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So it's okay. Wait, so what were you saying?
Anyway, what was I saying? I thought the scene. I got scenes mixed up. I thought like the scene with them chasing the dog happened after, but no, that was the opening scene that happened. I got that mixed up. I mean, they do show a little bit afterwards, but I thought that was the entire scene. The entire the scene of them chasing the dog with the helicopter was right after that. I didn't know it opened with that. I forgot all about that.
Oh, okay.
So I got scenes mixed up. I remember a lot of the things. I just didn't remember when it happened because it's been so long since I've seen it. So I was like, okay, and some scenes I didn't remember. Like I didn't remember. Again, I think I think I was still in high school when last time I've seen it because my buddies showed it to me first, and then I watched it like maybe once or twice afterwards with him. Okay. And then I just,
Oh man, I've seen this thing like 10 times. I mean, I probably didn't even have to rewatch it today.
Now that I have a better copy of it, now I can watch it more. So, because all I had was the bad transfer copy. I've heard everyone say avoid like the plague. So
Yeah, I had the DVD one, the special edition from Universal for a long time, and then I got this one, and then I
yeah,
popped in
I
the
definitely want to get
DVD and said,
the Scream Factory one at some point, and maybe the original thing, the prequel, at some point. I don't know when, but I have the DVD, but I'd like to get it on Blu-ray, upgrade it.
yeah, I wanted it on Blu-ray too, but it was just too expensive. So I said, oh, screw it. I'll spend like $8 and get the DVD and instead of paying like, I don't know, like the $30 to get it on Blu-ray. Because it's one of those, it's like Warner Archives and it has like the Warner logo in the
Oh,
middle.
the thing from another world.
Yeah. And
Oh, there is a Blu-ray of that.
yeah, it's just really pricey. Yeah, it's expensive. So
Maybe if I
that's the only reason why I got it on DVD is because it was just like, dude, this is too
gotcha.
expensive for this movie, especially when you get it for like $8 or something on DVD. You know, I
Yeah,
might have
I
even
got
paid less because I think I got it used. No, maybe I didn't. I don't remember. I know I paid like $8, $5, something like that for it. So,
yeah.
but
I'd
it's
pay that.
definitely worth picking up because it
Yeah,
does
definitely.
have the Scream Factory. It does have the really good documentary. It's got
Mhm.
the stop motion footage that wasn't used.
Yeah,
It's got a bunch of stuff on it. So
yeah, definitely.
and just want to point out something here. Let's see. Uh, oh look, Blu-ray producer Cliff Macmillan, my buddy. Yay, my buddy. Yay. I have known Cliff for like 30 years now. So he is my buddy. He's one of the guys
Um,
who started um, Shot Factory. So please be impressed.
oh, okay. Woohoo!
Woohoo! So,
You
um,
know an insider.
yeah, and I do actually. Um, and I did a whole video with him, like a 2-hour video just on the importance of physical media.
Okay.
And it's one of the only interviews he's ever given to somebody. So I actually I might be the only person who interviewed him. He's done some interviews for for Shout or Scream Factory, but he hasn't done anything outside. I don't think. I think I'm the only person.
Huh?
So allow me to put my
We're
pinky in.
not worthy. We're not worthy.
That's right. That's right. Um, and then of course we got the ending. You know, everybody's. I mean, I guess we should skip so much because the death scenes are really good. You know, the paddles going in and the teeth opening up and all that stuff is, you know, the guy running out and he's got like the claw things because he's not done changing yet.
Yeah.
That was really cool. um just the dogs, just with the thing that when it turns into that giant monster with the
That was
dogs,
that was creepy.
that always bums me out when the dogs are hurt. That bums me out. um uh and I liked in both films the examination scene of the thing's remains. I like how it's on the table and it's big and they crack it open and there's just all this stuff inside.
Yeah.
Reminds me a lot of like Alien or Aliens when they're looking at the face hugger upside down and they're kind
Yeah.
of picking at it and they're kind of taking it apart piece by piece. I like
Yeah.
stuff like that. I think that looks cool.
It gives you a little more like, ooh, what is this thing? Like maybe we might get some answers, but then most of the time, yeah, especially with these movies, you're left with like, well, you're left with more questions like, how does this thing operate? What's going on with this thing? And then you think like you might find a little discovery, but you never find out what it actually is.
And we shouldn't. If they ever made a film
That's what I
about
think.
where it's from, kind of like what they want to do with Alien, you know, Prometheus and stuff. I don't want to know all this stuff. I like because the xenomorphs are the same way. We've never seen what the xenomorph actually looks like. Like it's because it's when it attacks a dog, like the facehugger attacks a dog, the xenomorph looks like a dog.
Yeah.
If it attacked a cow, it would look more like a cow. So
Hmm.
if it attacks a human, it's going to look like the aliens that we know because the facehuggers keep attacking humans.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing, and I don't want to know who made all this stuff. That's why I'm not a fan of those movies really, because I don't like the idea of that, and I don't
Yeah.
think Alien Origins would. I'm sorry, not Alien Origins, but like the Thing Origins would be a good idea.
Now
No.
let's just keep the thing a mysterious creature that we don't know what it is. We don't know how it operates. All we need to know is that it somehow manipulates and copies other people's DNA and can morph into whoever it wants to morph into. And then that's all we need to know.
Yeah, because what's one of the biggest letdowns ever? Metachlorians. We didn't need to know it. We didn't need to know about metachlorians. We didn't need to know because it demystifies everything. If the idea is that the force is something that surrounds us and it binds us and it's all of that, that means that it can be different. It's more of a religious thing, right? How some
Yeah, I was
people
gonna say
are
this.
really religious and believe in God and all that, and then there's some that are like the casual believer that goes to church on Christmas. It's part of the same thing, but there's different degrees of it.
Hmm.
I don't need for that to be broken down. I don't need to know why Bob only goes to Christmas on Christmas, why Bob goes to church on Christmas. I don't need to know any of that type of
I
stuff.
mean, it would be like, oh, the people that believe in God have something in their bloodstream that they believe in God, and that's the only reason they believe in God. Like, no, that's not how that
Yeah,
works.
no,
Like the
no.
Metachlorians, yeah, I don't hate the Metachlorians, but then I don't like the medical. I just kind of like I can do with or without them.
Well, and it's like, okay, so then why wasn't this brought up in the past or in the future? I guess in this case, so why didn't Ben go up to Luke and go, "Oh, hey, this device is telling me that you have a lot of metachlorians." All of a sudden, for some reason, I sounded Jewish there. Hey, yeah, hey, Luke, why you don't have so many metachlorians?
That's racist,
So
Sean. That's
yeah,
racist.
it is. I'll take it back and say it's Italian because I'm Italian. So there we go. Hey, you want some meatballs with your metachlorian? How about that? I could do
I
that.
think
I'm
I
Italian.
think we're making it worse, man. I think we're
That's
making
true.
it
I'll just
worse.
stop. But it's yeah. I just don't. Which is why when you look at something like the ending of Carpenter's The Thing, for a long time everybody said it was Child's because you don't see his breath. But then people had pointed out it's the way he's positioned. So it's the way of like the lighting, where the camera is and stuff like that, is that you're not seeing his breath because of that.
Yeah.
But both of them do have breath. But I tend to, I don't know, I almost think Child's is it because of things that came after it. And if you
Mhm.
notice, Kurt Russell's character doesn't ask him for a drink. Childs has the booze, he drinks the booze, and Kurt Russell just kind of sits there. Like, I don't want your drink, dude. You could be infected. So he doesn't take it, and then we just have to find out. Now there is, and we'll say for The Thing, um, wow, did this bomb too? So its budget was 15 million and it only made 19.9 million.
They were barely broke bank.
Well, remember, things have to make twice their budget to make money. Yeah. So it's yeah, what you're saying is kind of true. Yeah. I
So
mean
then
it made over
budget
15.
the budget for to make the movie was 15 million, and it only made 19 million. So it only made like 4 million more than its budget. Its actual budget
Yeah.
to make it. So it barely made anything back.
Yeah, it might have paid for its marketing, and that's about it.
Yeah,
So,
because
but there,
because
I
a
mean,
lot of successful ones, like, they you pay 15 million to make the movie. A lot of successful ones will make like 30, 40, 50 million back, and make their money back plus. This one just kind of just made its money back and maybe bought everybody a pizza or something.
right. Yeah, it's, but people love this movie so much that at least down the road they did. Um, so Dark Horse Comics has a couple comic book sets. So in 1991, there was a two-part comic called The Thing from Another World. And
Okay.
then there was a four-part one in 92 called The Thing from Another World, Climate of Fear. And this is where you see that it's Kurt Russell's character is the surviving ones. And then there's a four-part one that was done in 93 called The Thing from Another World, Eternal Vows. And then there's one from 99 called The Thing from Another World, Questionable Research. There were also a couple video games made.
One I
And
know of.
uh,
One for the PS2 and Xbox, original
yeah,
Xbox.
yeah, that's what it's showing. Yeah. And then 2005, Sci-Fi Channel planned for a 4-hour miniseries sequel with Frank Darabont. Then, of course, that never happened. Then there was the prequel. But now, do you
They
know
did a
about?
miniseries. Sci-Fi did a miniseries.
No, they planned on it.
Oh, they planned on it, got canceled. Okay.
Yeah, with Frank
Yeah, I
Darabont
was gonna
doing
say
it.
I would have watched that. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
no
especially with
matter how
Frank
bad it
Darabont.
was. Huh?
Yeah. Now, have you heard of the Apocalypse trilogy? John Carpenter's
No,
Apocalypse trilogy.
I have
So
not.
there's, um, although released years apart and unrelated in terms of plot, character, crew, and even production studios, John Carpenter considers The Thing to be the first installment in his Apocalypse trilogy, a series of films based around cosmic horror entities unknown to man that are threats to both human life and the sense of self. The Thing, followed by Prince of Darkness in 1987 and In the Mouth of Madness 1994, all three films are heavily influenced by Carpenter's appreciations of the work of Lovecraft. So this is considered to be part one. So we have part one in his Apocalypse trilogy. You then have part two in his Apocalypse
Prince of
trilogy.
Darkness. I
And
think I
then
might have. I'm not sure.
part three is In the Mouth of Madness.
Okay.
So it's this awesome trilogy where nothing lives, like everything dies. It's just really dark and gloomy, and there's no happiness. And it's just, yeah, it's just the end of the world. And
I mean,
it's a great
I've
trilogy.
heard I've heard someone say this before. There was a horror author that I used to follow on YouTube. I still occasionally do, but he's always said, you know what true horror is when there is no hope. That is true horror. This he's always called when you get this one with like the happy ending where hey someone survived. That's considered a thriller. Somebody survived. When it's true horror, nobody survives.
Well, and
Or
that's
somebody survives and everything is taken away from them. Like they lost everything.
which would be the ending of The Mist, where our
Yeah.
main character kills his son and everyone
Yes.
around him, and then 30 seconds later, the army
Yes.
arrives, and
Yes.
he's just there losing it.
That ending peed me off so bad you don't understand.
It is such a great ending compared to the book.
It's a great ending, but
Even
man,
Stephen King says it's better than his own. So it's,
well, his ended like I mean, I forget how his ended. I think
his
his
ended
just
with just them.
end
They just drove. They drove into like the mist. They just
the mist
they
and
had,
just kind of like
yeah,
left.
they're in like the Jeep. They have the gun that only has a few bullets,
Mm-hmm.
and they just drive into the unknown.
Mm-hmm. And that's how it
And
ends.
yeah, and Darabont came up with the idea of having the dad shoot everybody, and then like less than a minute later, the army shows up with the woman and her, I think it's like 2 kids in the truck who everybody thought died. Which she's like, I got to get out of here. I'm out of here, and they're begging her not to go, and she's on the truck, so she made it.
Wow.
So it's kind of
Yeah.
like the original ending of Night of the Living Dead is when they were trying to find distribution, is the studios wanted George Romero to change the ending to where Ben lives. And they refused to do it. They wanted a happy ending. No, it's not a happy ending. Ben
It's a
dies. That's
zombie apocalypse. What do you want?
yeah, I mean it's no, especially when you know what happens later with Dawn and Day and all that stuff. It's just like that
Mm-hmm.
would have been a horrible ending. It worked perfect for Dawn of the Dead, where Romero was originally going to kill everybody, where Ken Foree shoots himself in the head, and then the woman up in the pilot, who's flying the plane, just stands up and gets decapitated. That's how it originally ended, and they even
Mm-hmm.
made a fake head for her. But they said no, we're going to have a more positive ending, and they both live.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you know even Day of the Dead has a happier ending because it's got like the 2 guys
Yeah.
and the 1 girl that survive. But
Mm-hmm.
it's no, you can't for something like the Thing and all of that. You need to have that.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not really sure about the Kate ending with the prequel, where she's just sitting in the truck. I'm not really sure how I feel about that.
I'm just going to assume that she's infected and she's just kind of lost hope. Mm.
Maybe. I
That's
guess
kind of what
going
how I interpreted it.
maybe go back and look to see if she's wearing any jewelry. I don't remember if she is like a ring or earrings or a necklace or anything. I don't
The only
remember
thing
any of
I
that.
remember that they showed it because she opened her mouth and said she had
Yes,
fillings.
yeah, she's got that. Yeah.
Yeah, so
And I know they had to do their own thing. That was their version of the blood test, but
yeah,
once again, Carpenter's The Thing never mentions anything about that type of stuff. So
no,
nobody finds rings or fillings or necklaces or anything around.
hmm
But I don't know if anybody is really wearing anything of that. Well, I never checked. I should have looked
not
for that
really.
when we were watching. So
And if they were, we weren't really paying attention.
no, because that's not what the movie was about.
Yeah,
Missing jewelry. So are you going to check out the rest of the Apocalypse now that you've seen the first one?
yeah. I have to track those down and check them out. I I think I have Prince of Darkness. I have to double check,
I love
but
that
I
film.
know I need to get into the Mouth of Madness.
I love Into Mouth of Madness. I think it's by far one of Carpenter's best movies. It's just the whole thing of H.P. Lovecraft meets Stephen King. Sutter
Okay.
Kane is the author's name in the book or in the movie. Sutter
hmm
Kane, Stephen King, and so it's very very Lovecraft meets Stephen King.
Okay.
So yeah, it's definitely worth it. So
Yeah, I definitely have to check those out, and then I'll have to check that one where the 2 practical effect guys said, "Screw the man and let's make our own movie."
oh yeah, that Harbinger one, the Harbinger Down. Yeah,
Yeah,
there is
that's the
one film I can't figure out the title of it, and I can't Google it because I don't know. There is a movie. It's brand new. It might have come out last year, but I'm seeing trailers for it now, where it's a group of people up in like at a cabin or they're in someplace up in the woods and it's snowing, and it's The Thing. Like it's not a remake or anything. It's just like it's like a ripoff or whatever.
hmm
But I can't think of the title of it, and I can't think of enough about it to Google it to figure it out. But I remember a couple of the reviews saying, "Oh yeah, it's just a Thing ripoff," and I'm like, "Okay, I want to watch that."
Yeah, really. I'll check
But
it
I
out.
can't. But yeah, I can't think of it. I can't think of what it is. Sucks getting
Oh,
old.
if you find out, put a comment under this video so we can all go and check it out.
Okay, yeah, because I would write like The Thing, winter horror 2024, something like that, and it would bring up comic books of the Thing with Fantastic Four. So it's like, no, that's not what I want. No, no. So, if I
We'll
find it
figure it
out,
out.
I'll put it down there. So, all right, man. Anything else, or are we?
That's pretty much it. I mean, we touched on everything. The Thing trilogy, if you call it. Now,
Yeah,
here's one thing I do want to ask you. Do you think John Carpenter was? I know he didn't. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it kind of feels like he was trying to make a sequel to the 1951 version, but he changed it. He changed it like right at the end there. Does it feel
kind.
kind of like
I kind of felt that, yeah, and I think other people have too. That this is kind of an unofficial sequel to Thing from
unofficial
Another World.
sequel? I think what maybe he was trying. Maybe at first when he wrote the script, maybe it was supposed to be okay. This is going to be a sequel to the Thing from Another Planet or a Thing from Another World. Thing from Another World, right?
Yeah,
Oh my god. Yeah, Thing from Another World. Sorry, I get names confused. But I think maybe he was gonna have that as like as like a sequel to that, and then maybe said, "Well, I don't want to be too on the nose about it," so he changed it to like the Norwegian camp instead of the camp from from the original '50s movie.
I mean, I know that there like myself, there are others out there that have tried to fit Thing from Another World into this
Hmm.
as like a
Even though it's
prequel.
really not, but
Well, it's kind of
it
like
kind of feels like it though.
it's like the movie The Rock with Sean Connery
Hmm.
for a long, long time, and I think it's still out there. People are saying that The Rock is a James Bond movie, that it's Sean Connery's final James Bond movie. They just can't call
Okay.
it a James Bond movie.
Okay.
But nobody's
So
confirmed it, nobody's denied it.
So it's the unofficial James Bond movie.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know, maybe at some point this was meant to be a sequel to that. I know that there just is that script that's attached to the story that was written in the late 70s that
So maybe
focused
that's
more on the book.
because you did say that, and then now maybe that's maybe what John Carpenter took a lot of that and has just said, well, let's change it a little bit,
Because
and that's why it feels kind of like a sequel to A Thing from Another World.
so
Because when I was watching, I was like, because like I said, I watched The Thing from Another World, then I went to John Carpenter's The Thing, and I kept thinking to myself, I'm like, man, why does it feel like he was trying to make a sequel to the '50s movie? But in the story, he says it's a Norwegian camp that found thing, not an American. Well, do they say it's an American camp in Antarctica
I think there's
in the
like an
'50s?
American flag. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know. It was interesting. So it's a sequel, not sequel. Sequel, not sequel /
Oh yeah,
remake.
so here it is. Yeah, so it's Thing from Another World, the novella that formed the basis for The Thing, John W. Campbell, and it says an introduction by William F. Nolan, co-author of Logan's Run. And it says includes the never before published screen treatment. So he must have written a treatment for it. And
Okay,
that's based on the book. Carpenter took the treatment, but rewrote it to be what we see on
to
the
make
screen.
his own version of it.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean,
So,
hey, it works.
but
I enjoyed all three movies, but I tell everybody, hey, watch all three. Don't think too hard on the first one. The first one's really just supposed to be like a popcorn movie. So just
yeah,
have
yeah,
fun with
yeah,
the first movie.
yeah.
Second and third one might be a little more thought provoking.
I mean,
Maybe.
Carpenter's film did set it up perfectly if somebody wanted to do a prequel. And
Yeah.
apparently somebody did because they made one because when you start it with a Norwegian guy in a helicopter trying to shoot a dog, you're wondering, well, why? And then when they go to the camp and it's all destroyed, and you're seeing the ice cube and you're seeing all these twisted, deranged bodies, you want to know why.
Mm-hmm.
So he set it up perfectly for a prequel.
Yeah.
But I know before the prequel came out, there were people, like I said myself, that tried to fit the original movie into this.
Yeah.
Even though they don't really match. But somehow it's just like, well, maybe these two films could match.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. I mean, but I don't know. I kind of look at the thing as the thing and the thing prequel was basically like a remake of the '50s movie. Also, maybe not, but the thing itself, maybe he just said, okay, let's make it where we're telling it a little differently, and this is the aftermath. And then when someone makes the prequel, they can tell the original story, base it on who goes there, the novella or novelette, whatever you want to call it, and then go from there.
Yeah. I mean, it's all open to interpretation. So
Pretty much. So, and that's how all good. I feel all good movies should be. You know, especially with stuff like this. Okay, the ending doesn't really say what happens to Childs and McGrady. So it's like, well, did they get out of there? Did they survive? Who knows? Did they turn? Did they both turn into the thing and meld together and take over the world? Maybe.
Never know. I mean, if you go off the comic books, I guess that McGrady did survive. I don't think Childs is in there. I think Childs dies. I've only read the first one. I haven't read the other ones, but I think
I know the video game kind of was made as like a sequel to the thing, and they kind of made it where you go back to the camp where the thing took place, and you're basically trying to figure out what went down. And I guess you're how you figure out what's going on is you get little notes from McGrady himself. But I guess McGrady, I guess, is nowhere to be found, so we don't know if he's the thing. Did he die? Did he kill himself? We don't know. So who knows? We'll see.
okay, yeah, yeah. So, well, if they do Frozen Hell, that should be interesting. So that will be a whole thing by itself.
Well, that'll be interesting. Hopefully they make it. I mean, hopefully it doesn't get stuck in production hell or anything like that.
In Frozen Hell, Frozen production hell.
In Frozen hell and production hell.
So, all right, man. Well, then that's it. So, thank you. Thanks everybody for watching and listening and doing all that good stuff. And um, um, yeah, I really think because of this, we should do the Invasion of the Body Snatchers to compare.
Let's go for it,
And how many have you seen, or have you seen them at all?
I don't know. I might have seen one, but I'm not 100% sure. Because there's a lot of times I've seen a movie and then I don't know I've seen it because my mom used to watch all these old movies on TV all the time. So a lot of times I'll be like, I don't think I ever watched it, and then I'll watch it, but oh, that I did see this. But then I watch it again because I don't like watching stuff on TV.
Okay. Well, I have a connection at least to the first two movies. So, which I'll tell you what that is when we do this again.
Is it connection to the thing or connection to something else?
It's not a connection to the thing. No.
Oh, okay.
I have a personal connection to Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the original, and then the remake. So,
okay.
That's cool, yeah. And you, I don't know if you can include the third one in there. The third one and two, yeah, the third can kind of fit. It's the fourth one, the invasion, that goes wrong. So I'd be curious to hear what you think of that one. That's one with Nicole Kidman and James Bond. So
okay.
All right. Okay, cool.
We'll definitely have to do that. So confirmed. Next one.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Thanks again. And we will see you next month on the next one, on this thing that you're watching next month.
Film discussion.
There we go. Created by Donald, by the way. He originally created this, for those of you who don't know. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. And
Thank you,
I will
guys.
see you there. Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye.